Hello there, and welcome back to the Sleepwalk space. I'm so glad you're here again. Maybe the world feels a little too loud right now, or maybe you're someone who finds comfort in the slow unfolding of ancient stories. Either way, tonight is yours. You don't need to worry about anything now. Just let your shoulders drop, your breath deepen, and your mind drift like a leaf on a quiet stream. Because tonight, we're going to explore evolution again, but gently, softly, one calming fact at a time. We'll wander through the deep history written in bones and cells, in the way animals move and the shapes they've become. From butterflies that taste with their feet, to whales that sing songs across oceans, evolution is everywhere. Patient and unhurried, we'll take our time. There's no rush, just one peaceful discovery after another. And before we begin, if these quiet journeys help you unwind at the end of your day, consider gently tapping the like button and subscribing. It helps others find this peaceful space too, one restful soul at a time. Now, let's begin. Your bones are made of the same minerals as ancient coral reefs. The calcium phosphate that forms your skeleton is the same compound that built the skeletons of marine creatures hundreds of millions of years ago. When you move, when you stand, when you rest your head on a pillow, you're supported by minerals that once drifted through prehistoric seas. These materials cycle through ecosystems, through oceans and soil, through plants and animals, and eventually into you. Your bones are not just yours. They're part of an ancient exchange, a slow circulation of matter that connects you to reefs, shells, and the ocean floor. Evolution didn't invent new materials. It recycled what the Earth already offered, building bodies from the same elements that once formed the sea. Cats have a collarbone that floats freely in muscle. Unlike humans, whose collarbones connect the shoulder to the chest, cats have a tiny vestigial collarbone that isn't attached to anything at all. It floats freely in the muscle tissue near their shoulders. This evolutionary adaptation gives cats incredible flexibility, allowing them to squeeze through tight spaces and twist their bodies in midair. Their narrow chests can compress, their shoulders can move independently, and their spines can rotate in ways that would be impossible with a rigid skeletal frame. Evolution shaped the cat's body for stalking, hunting, and slipping through the smallest openings. What looks like grace is actually anatomy refined over millions of years into something both beautiful and functional. Some trees communicate through underground fungal networks. Beneath the forest floor, tree roots are connected by vast networks of fungi called mycorrhizae. These networks allow trees to share nutrients, water, and even chemical signals. A mother tree can send carbon to her seedlings through these threads. A dying tree can transfer its resources to healthier neighbors. Some trees even send warning signals through the network when insects attack, prompting other trees to produce defensive chemicals. This fungal internet evolved over hundreds of millions of years as a partnership between plants and fungi. It's a reminder that evolution doesn't just shape individuals. It shapes communities. Relationships and silent conversations happen in beneath every footstep you take in the woods. Starfish have no brain, yet they can learn. Starfish, or sea stars, have no centralized brain or blood. Instead, they have a simple nerve net distributed throughout their bodies. Yet despite this simplicity, they can learn from experience. They remember which rocks hide food, which currents are safe, and how to navigate back to familiar territory. Their intelligence is diffuse, spread across their arms like a living network. Evolution didn't require a brain to create learning. It found another way, one that's slower, quieter, but no less effective. In the tide pools where starfish live, this decentralized intelligence is enough. It's a reminder that complexity can take many forms, and not all thinking happens in a head. Hummingbirds can see colors humans cannot. Hummingbirds have 4 types of color receptors in their eyes compared to our 3. This allows them to perceive ultraviolet light in combinations of colors that exist beyond human imagination. A flower that looks plain red to us might shimmer with ultraviolet patterns to a hummingbird, guiding it toward nectar like a landing strip. These birds evolved this vision to match the flowers they feed from, many of which evolved ultraviolet markings specifically to attract them. It's a co-evolutionary dance where plant and pollinator shaped each other over millions of years. The hummingbird doesn't just see a different world, it sees a richer one, painted in wavelengths we can only infer. Lobsters grow continuously throughout their lives. Most animals stop growing once they reach adulthood, but lobsters keep getting bigger as long as they live. They molt their hard exoskeletons periodically, shedding the old shell and growing a new, larger one underneath. In theory, a lobster could grow indefinitely, though in practice, the energy required for molting eventually becomes too great. Some scientists have described lobsters as biologically immortal, meaning they don't seem to age in the traditional sense. Their cells don't degrade the way ours do. Evolution gave them a body plan that resists the usual limits of aging, allowing them to live for decades, sometimes over a century, growing quietly on the ocean floor. Your appendix may not be useless after all. For years, the human appendix was considered a vestigial organ, a leftover from herbivorous ancestors who needed help digesting plants. But recent research suggests it may serve as a reservoir for beneficial gut bacteria. When illness wipes out the microbiome, the appendix can help repopulate the intestines with healthy microbes. It's a small, tucked-away organ, but it may play a quiet role in recovery and immune function. Evolution rarely keeps something around for no reason. Even structures that seem redundant often have subtle purposes we're only beginning to understand. The appendix is a reminder that the body is still full of mysteries, small part with small jobs that add up to survival. Moths evolved ears to hear bats coming. In the evolutionary arms race between bats and moths, sound became a battlefield. Bats evolved echolocation to hunt in the dark, and moths evolved ears to hear them coming. These ears are remarkably simple, sometimes just a thin membrane stretched over a small cavity, but they're sensitive enough to detect the high-frequency clicks of a bat from dozens of feet away. When a moth hears a bat, it can dive, loop, or spiral unpredictably to escape. Some moths even evolved the ability to produce their own ultrasonic clicks to jam the bat's sonar. It's a back and forth that's been going on for tens of millions of years, each side evolving new tricks in the darkness. Fireflies glow to find mates, and each species has its own pattern. Fireflies produce light through a chemical reaction in their abdomen, a process called bioluminescence. But the glow isn't random. Each species has a distinct flash pattern, a unique rhythm and color that helps males and females of the same species recognize each other in the night. Some flash in quick bursts, others in slow pulses. Some glow green, others glow yellow. This diversity evolved as populations became isolated and specialized, each developing its own light language. On a summer evening, a meadow filled with fireflies is not just beautiful. It's a living library of evolutionary signals, each flash a sentence in a conversation millions of years old. Sea otters have the densest fur of any animal. Sea otters live in cold ocean water and, unlike whales or seals, they don't have a thick layer of blubber for insulation. Instead, they evolved the densest fur on the planet, with up to 1 million hairs per square inch. The fur traps a layer of air against their skin, keeping them warm even in frigid water. To maintain this insulation, otters spend hours each day grooming, cleaning their fur and fluffing it to preserve the air layer. If the fur gets dirty or matted, it loses its insulating power, and the otter can die from cold. Evolution gave them warmth not through fat, but through an astonishing number of tiny, carefully maintained hairs. Elephants can hear with their feet. Elephants communicate over long distances using low-frequency sounds called infrasound, too deep for human ears to detect. But they don't just hear these sounds with their ears, they also sense them through their feet. The vibrations travel through the ground, and elephants pick them up using sensitive receptors in their foot pads and bones. This allows them to detect calls from miles away, even across hills and forests. Evolution gave elephants a second channel of communication, one that moves through the earth itself. When an elephant stands still, head slightly lowered, it may be listening not to the air, but to the ground, feeling the rumble of distant family. Some snails sleep for years. In dry environments, certain species of snails can enter a state of dormancy called estivation, sealing themselves inside their shells with a layer of dried mucus. In this state, their metabolism slows to almost nothing, and they can survive for months or even years without food or water. When rain finally returns, they emerge, resume feeding, and continue their lives as if no time has passed. This adaptation evolved in deserts and regions with unpredictable rainfall, where waiting is sometimes the only strategy. Evolution shaped these snails not for speed or strength, but for patience, for the ability to pause life until the world is ready again. Your heart beats about 3 billion times in a lifetime. The human heart is a muscle that never rests. From the moment it begins beating in the womb until the moment it stops, it contracts and relaxes in a rhythm that keeps you alive. Over an average lifetime, that's roughly 3 billion beats, pumping blood through over 60,000 miles of blood vessels. Evolution refined the heart across hundreds of millions of years, from the simple 2-chambered hearts of fish to the complex 4-chambered hearts of mammals and birds. Each beat is a small miracle of engineering, a coordinated wave of electrical signals and muscle contractions that evolved to be both powerful and enduring. When you rest your hand on your chest and feel that steady rhythm, you're feeling the result of deep time. Ants have been farming for 50 million years. Long before humans cultivated crops, leaf-cutter ants were farming fungi. They cut pieces of leaves, carried them back to their nests, and used them to grow fungal gardens. The ants don't eat the leaves. They eat the fungus. This relationship evolved over 50 million years ago, and the fungi have become so specialized that they can't survive without the ants, and the ants can't survive without the fungi. It's a partnership written into both species biology. Evolution didn't just shape the ants or the fungus. It shaped the relationship itself, a living contract passed down through countless generations. Owls can turn their heads 270 degrees without cutting off blood flow. Owls need to turn their heads dramatically because their eyes are fixed in their sockets. They can't move their eyes like we can. To compensate, evolution gave them incredibly flexible necks, with 14 vertebrae compared to the 7 found in most mammals. But rotating the head that far creates a problem. It could cut off blood flow to the brain. To solve this, owls evolved special adaptations. Their vertebrae have larger openings for blood vessels, and they have small reservoirs that pool blood when the head turns, ensuring the brain stays supplied with oxygen. It's a suite of small, elegant solutions that work together seamlessly, allowing the owl to see in all directions without ever moving its body. Bamboo can grow over 3 feet in a single day. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. Some species can grow more than 3 feet in 24 hours, a rate you can almost watch in real time. This astonishing speed is possible because bamboo grows by elongating cells rather than creating new ones. It's also hollow, which reduces the amount of material needed. This rapid growth evolved in environments where competition for sunlight is fierce. The faster a plant can reach the canopy, the better its chances of survival. Bamboo's speed is not reckless. It's strategic, an evolutionary response to crowded forests where hesitation means being left in the shade. Chameleons change color using crystal cells. Chameleons are famous for changing color, but it's not pigment that does the work. Beneath their skin, they have layers of specialized cells containing tiny crystals. By adjusting the spacing between these crystals, chameleons can reflect different wavelengths of light, shifting from green to blue to yellow or brown. This process is influenced by temperature, mood, and communication, not just camouflage. A calm chameleon might be green. An agitated one might turn bright yellow or red. Evolution gave them a living canvas, not just for hiding, but for signaling. Their skin is a language written in light. The blue whale's heart is the size of a small car. The blue whale is the largest animal ever to exist on Earth, and its heart matches that scale. Weighing around 400 pounds and measuring roughly 5 feet across, the heart pumps blood through a circulatory system so vast it could supply a small building. Each beat sends 60 gallons of blood surging through arteries wide enough for a human child to crawl through. Yet, despite this immense size, the whale's heart beats only about 8 to 10 times per minute when diving. Evolution scaled every part of the blue whale to match its environment, from the size of its heart to the slow, powerful rhythm that sustains it in the open ocean. It's a body built not for speed, but for endurance across thousands of miles. Bees can recognize human faces. Despite having brains smaller than a pinhead, honeybees can be trained to recognize individual human faces. They do this by piecing together features like a puzzle, treating faces as patterns rather than whole images. This ability likely evolved from their need to recognize flowers and navigate complex environments. In experiments, bees have been rewarded with sugar water for choosing the correct face from a lineup, and they remember the task even days later. Evolution didn't give bees a concept of face the way we understand it, but it gave them pattern recognition so refined that it works across species, allowing a tiny insect to see us as distinct individuals. Redwood trees can live over 2,000 years. Some coast redwoods in California have been standing for more than 2 millennia. They were already ancient when Rome was an empire. Their longevity comes from a combination of evolutionary traits: thick, fire-resistant bark, wood that resists rot and insects, and the ability to sprout new growth even after severe damage. Redwoods don't just survive, they endure, weathering fires, droughts, and storms with quiet resilience. Their height allows them to access sunlight above the competition, and their roots intertwine with neighboring trees, creating mutual support. These trees are not solitary giants. They're part of a community, holding each other up through centuries. Evolution made them strong, but also cooperative. Your gut bacteria outnumber your human cells. Inside your digestive system live trillions of bacteria, archaea, fungi, and viruses. Together, they outnumber your human cells and carry far more genetic diversity than your own genome. This microbiome is not an invader, it's a partner. These microbes help digest food, produce vitamins, train your immune system, and even influence your mood and behavior through chemical signals sent to your brain. The relationship evolved over millions of years, a form of symbiosis so deep that you can't truly be healthy without them. You're not just one organism. You're an ecosystem, a walking collaboration between human and microbial life. Crows hold grudges and remember faces for years. Crows have extraordinary memories, particularly when it comes to people who have wronged them. In studies, crows that were captured and banded by researchers later recognized those same individuals, even when they wore different clothing. The crows would scold, dive bomb, or avoid the person for years. Even more remarkable, they seemed to teach other crows about the threat, spreading the knowledge socially. Evolution gave crows not just memory, but the ability to communicate danger, creating a kind of cultural knowledge that persists across individuals and time. In the world of crows, reputation matters, and grudges are long. Monarch butterflies migrate using a compass in their antennae. Each fall, millions of monarch butterflies migrate from North America to central Mexico, a journey of up to 3,000 miles. They navigate using the position of the sun, but because the sun moves across the sky, they need an internal clock to adjust their course. This clock is located in their antennae. If you remove or cover a monarch's antenna, it loses its ability to navigate correctly. Evolution embedded a biological compass into their body, one that integrates time, light, and direction into a single system. These butterflies have never made the trip before. They're born along the way, yet they find the same trees their ancestors roosted in, guided by inherited instructions written into their nervous system. Some sharks have been around longer than trees. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years, long before the first trees appeared on land. They survived multiple mass extinctions, including the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. Their body plan, streamlined, efficient, and adaptable, has changed relatively little because it works so well. Different species evolved to fill different niches, from the deep sea to coral reefs, from filter feeders to apex predators. But the core design, cartilage skeleton, multiple rows of teeth, keen senses, remains largely the same. Evolution doesn't always favor novelty. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best, refined over eons into something nearly perfect for its purpose. Penguins propose with pebbles. In some penguin species, males court females by presenting them with smooth, carefully chosen pebbles. If the female accepts, she places the pebble in her nest, and the pair bond is formed. pebbles are valuable in the rocky, barren landscapes where penguins breed, used to build nests that keep eggs off the frozen ground. Choosing the right pebble is a signal of the male's ability to provide and invest in offspring. This behavior evolved as a form of mate selection, where gifts serve as honest indicators of commitment. It's not romance in the human sense, but it's a ritual shaped by evolution to ensure successful reproduction in one of the harshest climates on Earth. Beaver's teeth never stop growing. A beaver's front incisors grow continuously throughout its life, sometimes up to 4 feet per year. To keep them from becoming too long, beavers must constantly gnaw on wood. The front surface of their teeth is coated with hard orange enamel, while the back is softer dentin. This creates a self-sharpening edge as the softer material wears away faster. Evolution gave beavers a tool that never dulls, perfectly suited for their lifestyle of cutting down trees, building dams, and reshaping entire ecosystems. Without this adaptation, their teeth would overgrow and make eating impossible. But with it, they become engineers, altering rivers and wetlands in ways that benefit countless other species. Butterflies taste with their feet. When a butterfly lands on a flower or leaf, it's not just resting, it's tasting. Butterflies have chemoreceptors on their feet that allow them to detect sugars and other chemicals on contact. A female butterfly can tell whether a plant is the right species for laying eggs simply by standing on it. This ability evolved because butterflies need to make quick, accurate decisions. The right plant means survival for their caterpillars. The wrong one means death. Evolution turned their feet into tongues, giving them instant feedback about the world beneath them. It's a small adaptation, but it's essential to their life cycle, a way of knowing without thinking. Polar bear fur is not white. It's translucent. Polar bear fur appears white because of the way light scatters through the hollow, colorless hairs. Underneath, their skin is actually black, which helps absorb heat from the sun. The fur's structure provides insulation by trapping air, and the translucent strands allow light to reach the dark skin below, warming the bear even in freezing conditions. This combination of traits evolved to help polar bears survive in the Arctic, where temperatures can drop far below zero. They look pale and ghostly against the ice, but every part of their coat is a finely tuned system for retaining heat and staying camouflaged in a world of snow. Octopuses have 3 hearts. An octopus has one main heart that pumps blood to the body, and 2 smaller hearts that pump blood to the gills. When the octopus swims, the main heart stops beating, which is why octopuses prefer to crawl rather than swim. It's more energy efficient. Their blood is blue, not red, because it uses copper-based hemocyanin to carry oxygen instead of iron-based hemoglobin. This adaptation allows their blood to function in cold, low-oxygen environments. Evolution shaped the octopus circulatory system to match the demands of life on the ocean floor, where efficiency and flexibility matter more than speed. Every heartbeat is a calculated expense. Some turtles can breathe through their butts. Certain aquatic turtles have evolved the ability to absorb oxygen through specialized tissues in their cloaca, the all-purpose opening used for excretion and reproduction. This process, called cloacal respiration, allows turtles to stay submerged for months during hibernation. They don't need to surface for air because they can extract oxygen directly from the water around them. It's not their primary method of breathing, but it's a backup system that evolved to help them survive winters under ice. Evolution doesn't always create elegant solutions. Sometimes it just finds what works, even if that means breathing through an unexpected place. Humpback whales sing songs that change over time. Male humpback whales produce long, complex songs that can last up to 20 minutes and be heard across entire ocean basins. What's remarkable is that all the males in a region sing the same song, and the song changes gradually from year to year. It's a form of cultural evolution, passed from whale to whale, modified and refined over time. Scientists don't fully understand the purpose of the songs. They may be for attracting mates, establishing territory, or simply communicating across vast distances. But the fact that the songs evolve, that they are not fixed but fluid, shows that culture exists in the ocean, carried in sound, shifting like the tides. Sloths only defecate once a week. Sloths have one of the slowest metabolisms of any mammal, and their digestive process is so gradual that they only need to defecate about once every week. When they do, they climb down from the trees, a rare and risky journey, and dig a small hole at the base of the tree. This behavior may seem odd, but it likely helps fertilize the tree they live in and may also play a role in the life cycle of moths that live in sloth fur. Evolution shaped the sloth not for speed or efficiency, but for extreme energy, conservation. Every action is minimized, every movement calculated. In a world of abundance in the canopy, doing less is a winning strategy. Mantis shrimp have the most complex eyes in the animal kingdom. Mantis shrimp have 16 types of color receptors, compared to the 3 in humans. They can see polarized light, ultraviolet light, and possibly even a form of circular polarized light that no other animal can detect. Their eyes move independently, and each one has trinocular vision, meaning each eye has depth perception on its own. This extraordinary vision evolved to help them hunt and navigate the complex, colorful world of coral reefs. What they see is likely beyond anything we can imagine. A visual experience so rich and layered that our brains couldn't process it even if we could access it. Evolution gave them not just sight, but a kind of super sight. Horses can sleep standing up. Horses have a unique skeletal system called the stay apparatus that allows them to lock their legs in place without using muscular effort. This lets them rest and even doze while standing, keeping them ready to flee from predators at a moment's notice. They do lie down for deeper sleep, but only for short periods. This adaptation evolved in animals that lived on open grasslands where predators could approach from any direction. The ability to rest without being vulnerable gave horses a survival edge. Even in domestication, thousands of years removed from wild predators, the behavior remains. Evolution leaves its mark not just in bones, but in instincts that linger long after the danger has passed. Frogs absorb water through their skin. Frogs don't drink water the way mammals do. Instead, they absorb it directly through their skin, particularly through a specialized patch on their belly and thighs called the drink patch. This adaptation allows them to rehydrate quickly after periods of dryness and is essential for species that live in environments with fluctuating water availability. Their skin is also permeable to other substances, which is why frogs are so sensitive to pollutants. Evolution made their skin a gateway, efficient for water absorption but vulnerable to contamination. It's a trade-off. one that works well in clean environments, but puts frogs at risk in a changing world. Crocodiles cry, but not from emotion. Crocodiles produce tears while eating, a phenomenon that gave rise to the phrase crocodile tears. These tears are not emotional. They're a byproduct of the way crocodiles eat. When they hiss, gulp air, and manipulate large prey, the physical exertion stimulates their tear glands. The tears may also help keep their eyes moist when they're out of water for extended periods. Evolution didn't design this as a signal or a display. It's simply a side effect of anatomy and behavior, a biological quirk that became folklore. Sometimes evolution creates features that mean nothing at all, just accidents that happen to be visible. Dolphins sleep with half their brain at a time. Dolphins are conscious breathers. They have to actively decide to come to the surface for air. If they fell fully asleep, they'd drown. To solve this, evolution gave them the ability to sleep with one half of their brain at a time, a process called unihemispheric sleep. One half rests while the other stays alert, keeping the dolphin moving, breathing, and aware of threats. The two halves take turns, allowing the dolphin to rest without ever being fully unconscious. It's a remarkable adaptation that evolved in aquatic mammals who can't afford to lose awareness. Sleep, for them, is not an escape. It's a rotation. Some plants can count. The Venus flytrap can count the number of times its trigger hairs are touched. A single touch isn't enough to close the trap. It takes 2 touches within about 20 seconds to trigger the snap. This prevents the plant from wasting energy on false alarms like raindrops or debris. Evolution gave the Venus flytrap a rudimentary form of memory, a way to distinguish between prey and non-prey without a brain or nervous system. It's a decision made at the cellular level, chemical signals accumulating and crossing a threshold. In a sense, the plant can count to 2, a reminder that intelligence is not the only way to solve problems. Giraffes have the same number of neck bones as mice. Despite the dramatic difference in neck length, both giraffes and mice have exactly 7 cervical vertebrae. This is true for almost all mammals. The constraint is evolutionary. Changing the number of neck vertebrae requires altering deeply embedded developmental programs, and such changes often lead to problems in other parts of the body. So instead of adding bones, evolution simply stretched the ones that were already there. Each giraffe vertebra can be over 10 inches long. The lesson is clear. Evolution works with what it has, modifying and exaggerating, but rarely rewriting the basic blueprint. Humans are the only animals that blush. Blushing is an involuntary response where blood flow increases to the face, turning the skin red. It happens when we feel embarrassed, ashamed, or self-conscious. Humans are the only species known to do this. The evolutionary purpose of blushing is still debated, but many scientists believe it serves as a non-verbal apology or signal of vulnerability, helping to maintain social bonds. By showing that we recognize we've made a mistake, we reduce the chance of conflict. Evolution may have favored blushing as a way to keep human groups cohesive. It's a small signal, written on the skin, that says, I know, I see what I did, and I care. Komodo dragons have venomous bites. For years, scientists believed Komodo dragons killed their prey through bacteria in their saliva. But recent research revealed they actually produce venom, delivered through ducts in their gums. The venom lowers blood pressure, prevents clotting, and induces shock, allowing the dragon to bring down animals much larger than itself. This adaptation evolved in an environment where large prey was scarce and competition was fierce. A single bite can be enough. The dragon then tracks the wounded animal, sometimes for days, until it collapses. Evolution gave them patience, venom, and an extraordinary sense of smell, tools that work together to make them one of the most effective predators in their range. Bats are the only mammals that can truly fly. While other mammals like sugar gliders and flying squirrels can glide, bats are the only ones capable of powered, sustained flight. Their wings are actually modified hands, with elongated finger bones covered by a thin membrane of skin. This structure gives them incredible maneuverability, allowing them to twist, dive, and hover in ways that birds cannot. Flight evolved independently in bats, separate from birds and insects, using a completely different anatomical starting point. It's one of evolution's most remarkable achievements, taking a mammalian forelimb and transforming it into a wing capable of navigating the night sky with precision. The human tailbone is a remnant of a tail. The coccyx, or tailbone, is made up of 3 to 5 fused vertebrae at the base of the spine. It's what remains of the tail our ancestors once had. In human embryos, a tail is briefly visible during early development before being reabsorbed. The coccyx now serves as an attachment point for muscles involved in pelvic stability, but its original function as a tail is long gone. Evolution didn't erase it entirely. It repurposed it, allowing it to take on a new, quieter role. It's a small reminder that we are not designed from scratch. We are remodeled versions of older forms. Tardigrades can survive in space. Tardigrades, or water bears, are microscopic animals capable of surviving extreme conditions. They can withstand temperatures near absolute zero, heat over 300 degrees Fahrenheit, pressures 6 times greater than the deepest ocean trench, and even the vacuum of space. When conditions become unfavorable, they enter a state called cryptobiosis, shutting down their metabolism almost entirely and replacing much of the water in their bodies with protective sugar. In this state, they can survive for years, even decades, and revive when conditions improve. Evolution gave them a kind of biological immortality, not through longevity, but through the ability to pause life until the world is habitable again. Wombat poop is cube-shaped. Wombats are the only animals known to produce cube-shaped feces. The shape forms due to varying elasticity in the walls of their intestines, which mold the waste into distinct edges as it dries. This unusual geometry serves a purpose. Cube-shaped droppings don't roll away, making them ideal for marking territory on rocks and logs. In the competitive, rugged terrain where wombats live, staying put is important for a scent marker. Evolution didn't give wombats cubic intestines for novelty. It gave them a structural solution to a communication problem. Even waste can be shaped by natural selection. Kangaroos can't walk backwards. The anatomy of a kangaroo's legs and tail makes it nearly impossible for them to move in reverse. Their large, muscular hind legs and heavy tail are built for forward hopping, not backward stepping. This limitation is so well known that the kangaroo was chosen as a symbol for Australia's coat of arms, representing a nation that moves forward and never back. Evolution optimized kangaroos for efficient, high-speed forward movement across open landscapes. Walking backward wasn't necessary, so the body plan didn't accommodate it. Sometimes evolution specializes so completely that flexibility is sacrificed. And in the case of the kangaroo, that specialization led to one of the most efficient forms of locomotion in the animal kingdom. Honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old, and the honey was still perfectly edible. This extraordinary preservation is due to honey's unique chemical composition. It's highly acidic, has very low moisture content, and contains hydrogen peroxide, all of which create an inhospitable environment for bacteria and microbes. Bees evolved the ability to produce this substance as a stable food source for the hive, one that could be stored indefinitely without spoiling. Evolution didn't just give bees a way to make food. It gave them a way to make food that lasts, a natural preservative crafted by insects over millions of years. Some frogs freeze solid in winter and thaw alive in spring. Wood frogs and some other species have evolved the ability to survive freezing temperatures by allowing ice to form in their bodies. Up to 70% of their body water can turn to ice, and their hearts stop beating. They don't breathe. They appear dead. But in spring, when temperatures rise, they thaw and resume normal activity. To survive this, they produce glucose and other cryoprotectants that prevent ice crystals from damaging their cells. Evolution gave these frogs a way to turn winter into a kind of suspended animation, allowing them to inhabit environments that would be lethal to most amphibians. Elephants are pregnant for nearly 2 years. The gestation period for an elephant is about 22 months, the longest of any land animal. This extended pregnancy allows the calf to develop a large, complex brain and a body capable of walking and keeping up with the herd within hours of birth. Elephants have long lifespans and invest heavily in each offspring, raising them with care and teaching them social behaviors over many years. Evolution favored this strategy of fewer, more developed young in a species where intelligence, memory, and social bonds are critical to survival. The long pregnancy is not a burden. It's an investment in a brain and body that will serve the calf for decades. Pigeons can detect cancer. In studies, pigeons have been trained to identify cancerous tissue in medical images with accuracy comparable to human pathologists. They can distinguish between benign and malignant cells by recognizing subtle patterns in the images. This ability likely stems from their highly developed visual processing system, which evolved for navigation and foraging. Pigeons see details and contrasts that other animals miss. Evolution gave them a brain wired for pattern recognition, and humans, in turn, found a way to apply that skill to medicine. It's an unexpected application of a trait shaped by entirely different pressures. Snails can have thousands of teeth. A snail's mouth contains a ribbon-like structure called a radula, covered in tiny teeth. Some species have over 20,000 of these microscopic teeth arranged in rows. The radula works like a file, scraping algae, leaves, or other food into small particles. As the front teeth wear down from use, new ones move forward to replace them. A conveyor belt system that ensures the snail never runs out of cutting edges. Evolution gave snails a tool that regenerates, perfectly suited for a life of slow, methodical grazing. Their teeth are not sharp like a carnivore's. They're abrasive, designed for patience and persistence. Some caterpillars can mimic snakes. The caterpillar of the spice bush swallowtail butterfly has evolved markings that make it look like a small snake. Large, false eye spots, a triangular head shape, and even a forked tongue-like structure create the illusion when the caterpillar is threatened. It rears up, displaying the markings in a way that startles birds and other predators. This mimicry is so convincing that it provides protection even though the caterpillar is completely harmless. Evolution shaped the caterpillar's appearance to borrow the fearsome reputation of another animal, creating a disguise that works without any venom or bite to back it up. Blue whales eat about 4 tons of krill per day. Despite being the largest animal on Earth, blue whales feed on some of the smallest. Krill are tiny, shrimp-like creatures, and a blue whale can consume roughly 4 tons of them each day during feeding season. They do this through filter feeding, taking in huge mouthfuls of water and krill, then pushing the water out through baleen plates that trap the krill inside. This feeding method evolved to take advantage of the massive swarms of krill found in nutrient-rich ocean waters. By specializing in tiny, abundant prey, blue whales found a niche that allowed them to grow to sizes no land animal could ever reach. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals but tire quickly. A cheetah can reach speeds of up to 70 km/h in short bursts, covering distances up to 1,600 feet. But this incredible speed comes at a cost. Cheetahs overheat rapidly and can only maintain top speed for about 20 to 30 seconds. Their bodies are built for acceleration and agility, with lightweight frames, long legs, and a flexible spine. But they lack the stamina of other predators. Evolution optimized them for the sprint, for the explosive chase, not the marathon. After a hunt, a cheetah must rest and cool down, vulnerable to larger predators who might steal its kill. Speed is their advantage, but also their limitation. Axolotls can regenerate their brains. Axolotls are famous for their regenerative abilities, capable of regrowing limbs, spinal cords, and even parts of their hearts and brains. If a portion of their brain is damaged, they can rebuild it, restoring function over time. This extraordinary ability is still being studied by scientists, hoping to unlock similar potential in humans. Evolution preserved this trait in axolotls because their aquatic environment and predation pressures favored individuals who could recover from injury. What seems miraculous to us is, for them, simply biology, a part of their life cycle written into every cell. The shortest war in history lasted 38 minutes. On August 27, 1896, the Anglo-Zanzibar War began and ended in less than an hour. It started when the Sultan of Zanzibar died and a new sultan took power without British approval. Britain issued an ultimatum, and when it was ignored, they bombarded the palace. The entire conflict lasted just 38 to 45 minutes, making it the shortest war on record. While not directly about evolution, it's a reminder of how human history, like natural history, is full of sudden, dramatic events that reshape outcomes in ways no one could predict. Evolution, too, has its rapid shifts, its sudden extinctions, its moments where everything changes faster than expected. Woodpeckers have tongues that wrap around their skulls. A woodpecker's tongue is astonishingly long, sometimes extending up to 3 times the length of its beak. When not in use, the tongue retracts and wraps around the inside of the skull, between the bone and the skin. This adaptation allows woodpeckers to probe deep into crevices and holes to extract insects. The tongue is sticky and barbed, designed to snag prey and pull it out. Evolution didn't just lengthen the tongue, it redesigned the entire skull structure to accommodate it, creating a storage system that would seem absurd if it weren't so effective. Female hyenas give birth through a pseudopenis. Female spotted hyenas have external genitalia that closely resemble those of males, including a structure called a pseudopenis, through which they urinate, mate, and give birth. This makes birth extremely difficult and dangerous. The pseudopenis evolved as a result of high levels of androgens during fetal development, which also contribute to the female's larger size and aggressive behavior. In hyena society, females are dominant, and this unusual anatomy may be a byproduct of the hormonal environment that supports that dominance. Evolution doesn't optimize for ease. It optimizes for survival and reproductive success, even when the process is painful or risky. Hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards. Hummingbirds have a unique shoulder joint that allows their wings to rotate in a full circle. This gives them the ability to fly forwards, backwards, sideways, and even upside down for short periods. Their wing beats are incredibly fast, up to 80 beats per second in some species, creating the characteristic humming sound. This flight ability evolved to allow them to hover in front of flowers while feeding on nectar, maintaining precise position in midair. No other bird can match their aerial agility. Evolution gave them flight that's less like soaring and more like controlled levitation. The human brain shrinks slightly with age. As people age, the brain naturally loses volume, particularly in the frontal cortex and hippocampus, areas involved in memory and decision-making. This shrinkage begins as early as the 30s and continues gradually throughout life. It's part of the normal aging process, not necessarily a sign of disease. The brain also becomes less plastic, meaning it's harder to form new connections. But experience, learning, and staying mentally active can slow this decline. Evolution shaped human brains to be most powerful during the reproductive years, when decision-making and social navigation are most critical. What happens afterward is less optimized, a reminder that evolution cares most about survival and reproduction, not necessarily longevity. Some plants can move. The sensitive plant, Mimosa pudica, folds its leaves inward within seconds of being touched. This rapid movement is caused by changes in water pressure within the plant's cells. The response likely evolved as a defense mechanism, either to startle herbivores or to make the plant look less appetizing. Other plants, like the Venus flytrap and sundew, also move in response to touch, capturing insects for nutrients. These movements are not conscious, but they are sophisticated, showing that responsiveness to the environment is not limited to animals. Evolution gave plants their own ways of sensing and reacting, slow but effective. Octopuses can change the texture of their skin. In addition to changing color, octopuses can alter the texture of their skin, creating bumps, ridges, and spines that mimic rocks, coral, or algae. This is done using specialized muscles called papillae that can be raised or flattened in less than a second. The ability to match not just color but texture makes their camouflage extraordinarily effective. Evolution shaped the octopus into one of the most adaptable creatures in the ocean, capable of disappearing into almost any background. Their skin is not just a surface, it's a tool, responsive and intelligent, a living canvas that rewrites itself constantly. Butterflies can see more colors than humans because they have more types of photoreceptor cells. Some species have up to 5 different types compared to our 3. This allows them to see ultraviolet patterns on flowers that are invisible to us. These patterns often guide them to nectar, acting like runway lights. Evolution fine-tuned butterfly vision to match the needs of their lifestyle, where finding the right flower quickly is a matter of survival. Their world is more colorful than ours, painted in wavelengths we can only imagine. Orcas have distinct cultures. Different pods of orcas have unique hunting techniques, vocalizations, and social behaviors that are passed down through generations. Some hunt seals by creating waves to knock them off ice floes. Others specialize in hunting sharks or rays. These behaviors are learned, not instinctive, and they vary between groups. This is cultural evolution, where knowledge is transmitted socially rather than genetically. Orcas teach their young, and those lessons shape the identity of the pod. Evolution gave orcas the intelligence to adapt culturally, allowing them to thrive in diverse environments without waiting for genetic changes. Some lichens are thousands of years old. Lichens are not a single organism, but a symbiotic partnership between a fungus and an alga or cyanobacterium. They grow extremely slowly, sometimes less than a millimeter per year. Some lichens in the Arctic are estimated to be over 9,000 years old, making them among the oldest living things on Earth. They can survive extreme cold, drought, and radiation, entering a state of dormancy when conditions are poor. Evolution didn't give lichens speed or size. It gave them endurance, the ability to persist quietly for millennia, covering rocks and trees with a slow, patient life. Lobsters communicate by peeing at each other. Lobsters have bladders located near their heads, and they release urine toward each other as a form of communication. The urine contains chemical signals that convey information about identity, mood, and even readiness to mate or fight. During confrontations, lobsters will squirt each other repeatedly, essentially having a conversation through scent. Evolution gave them a way to communicate that's direct and chemical, bypassing the need for sound or visual displays. In the murky, dim waters where lobsters live, scent is more reliable than sight. Naked mole rats are resistant to cancer. Naked mole rats rarely develop cancer, a trait that has fascinated scientists for years. Their cells produce an unusually high amount of a substance called high molecular mass hyaluronan, which prevents cells from crowding together and forming tumors. This, combined with other genetic factors, makes them extraordinarily resistant to cancer. Evolution shaped their biology in response to life in crowded, low-oxygen underground tunnels, and cancer resistance may have been an incidental benefit. They also live far longer than other rodents of similar size, sometimes over 30 years. Their bodies seem to have stumbled upon a formula for longevity that most mammals never found. Some birds use tools. Crows, ravens, and some other bird species use sticks, leaves, and even hooks, fashioned from twigs to extract insects from crevices. They modify tools to fit the task, showing an understanding of cause and effect. This behavior is learned and passed down, another example of culture in the animal kingdom. Evolution gave these birds not just intelligence, but the physical dexterity and curiosity to experiment. Tool use was once thought to be uniquely human. Now we know it evolved independently in several lineages, proof that intelligence can arise in many forms. Sloths used to be giants. Today's sloths are small, slow, and tree-dwelling, But thousands of years ago, their ancestors were ground sloths the size of elephants. These megafauna roamed the Americas during the Ice Age, some weighing over 4 tons. They had powerful claws and likely fed on leaves and shrubs. When humans arrived and the climate changed, the giant sloths went extinct. Only the smaller tree-dwelling species survived. Evolution didn't make sloths slow and small by design. It's what remained after the giants disappeared. The sloths we see today are the quiet survivors of a much larger story. Giraffes have blue tongues. A giraffe's tongue can be up to 20 inches long, and it's dark blue or purple in color. The pigmentation likely protects the tongue from sunburn, since giraffes spend hours each day with their tongues extended, pulling leaves from thorny acacia trees. The tongue is also prehensile, meaning it can grasp and manipulate branches. Evolution didn't just make the giraffe's tongue long. It made it tough, flexible, and resistant to damage. Every feature of the giraffe, from its neck to its tongue to its heart, is part of a coordinated system designed to reach food other animals cannot. Ravens can plan for the future. In experiments, ravens have shown the ability to plan ahead, selecting tools they'll need hours later, and even bartering items for better rewards in the future. This kind of future-oriented thinking was once believed to be unique to humans and great apes. But ravens, with their bird brains, demonstrate that planning is not about brain size, but brain structure. Evolution gave corvids a neural architecture capable of imagination, memory, and foresight. They are not merely reacting to the present. They are anticipating the future. Coconut crabs can crack coconuts. The coconut crab is the largest land-living arthropod, with a leg span of up to 3 feet. It has evolved powerful claws capable of exerting crushing forces strong enough to crack open coconuts, its primary food source. These crabs climb trees, cut down coconuts, and then peel and eat them. This behavior requires not just strength, but coordination and problem-solving. Evolution gave them the tools and the drive to exploit a food source that few other animals can access. On remote islands where coconut crabs live, they are both the cleaners and the engineers, reshaping their environment one coconut at a time. Dogs evolved to understand human pointing. Wolves, the ancestors of dogs, don't naturally follow human pointing gestures. But dogs do, even as puppies. This ability likely evolved during domestication, as dogs that could read human cues were more successful at living alongside people. Over thousands of years, evolution favored dogs that could communicate with us, not through language, but through attention and responsiveness. Your dog looking where you point is not just training. It's biology, a trait that was selected for over countless generations of partnership. The oldest living tree is over 5,000 years old. A bristlecone pine in California, named Methuselah, is over 5,000 years old. It was already ancient when the pyramids were built. These trees survive in harsh, high-altitude environments where few other plants can grow. Their wood is dense and resinous, resistant to insects, rot, and fire. They grow slowly, sometimes adding less than an inch of width per century. Evolution gave them resilience over speed, endurance over growth. They stand as witnesses to millennia, silent and patient. Some moths drink the tears of sleeping birds. In Madagascar, certain moths have evolved to land on sleeping birds and drink their tears. The tears provide salt and proteins that the moths need. The birds usually don't wake up, and the moth's proboscis is gentle enough not to cause harm. This bizarre behavior evolved in an environment where nutrient sources are scarce, and evolution pushed the moths toward an unusual, opportunistic solution. It's a reminder that survival strategies can be strange, intimate, and entirely unexpected. Hermit crabs use shells as mobile homes. Unlike most crabs, hermit crabs have soft, vulnerable abdomens. To protect themselves, they live inside empty shells, usually from snails. As they grow, they must find larger shells and move into them. Sometimes, hermit crabs will line up in size order, waiting for a chain of shell exchanges to occur as each crab moves into the shell vacated by the next. This behavior evolved as a way to survive without growing hard exoskeletons. Evolution didn't give hermit crabs armor. It gave them adaptability, the intelligence to borrow protection from another species entirely. Meerkats take turns standing guard. In meerkat colonies, individuals take turns acting as sentries, standing upright and scanning for predators while the rest of the group forages. If danger is spotted, the sentry gives an alarm call, and everyone retreats to the burrow. This cooperative behavior evolved because it increases the survival of the group. Even though the sentry is exposed and not eating, and the system works because meerkats rotate the duty, evolution favored cooperation, creating a social structure where individuals sacrifice in turns for the benefit of all. It's a society built on trust and shared risk. Some trees send chemical signals through the air to warn each other. When certain trees are attacked by insects, they release volatile organic compounds into the air. Neighboring trees detect these chemicals and begin producing defensive compounds in their own leaves, even before being attacked themselves. This form of communication evolved as a way to prepare for threats collectively. The forest is not just a collection of individuals. It's a network, connected by roots and by air, where information flows and defenses are coordinated. Evolution shaped not just the tree, but the community. Peacock spiders dance to attract mates. Male peacock spiders, tiny Australian arachnids, have evolved colorful flaps on their abdomens that they raise and vibrate in elaborate dances to attract females. Each species has its own dance and color pattern. If the female is not impressed, she may attack or eat the male. This intense sexual selection drove the evolution of their extravagant displays. The male's survival depends not just on avoiding predators, but on being a good dancer. Evolution, in this case, made art a matter of life and death. Narwhal's tusks are actually teeth. The narwhal's iconic tusk is an elongated canine tooth that spirals out from the upper jaw. It can grow up to 10 feet long and contains millions of nerve endings, making it highly sensitive. Scientists believe the tusk is used for sensing changes in the water, detecting prey, and possibly even communicating with other narwhals. It may also play a role in mating displays. Evolution took a tooth and turned it into a sensory organ, a tool, and a symbol. The tusk is not a weapon in the traditional sense. It's an antenna, reaching out into the cold Arctic waters. Flamingos are pink because of their diet. Flamingos are born gray or white. Their iconic pink color comes from carotenoid pigments in the algae and crustaceans they eat. These pigments are absorbed and deposited in their feathers, skin, and beaks. The brighter the flamingo, the healthier and better fed it is, which makes color an honest signal of fitness. Evolution didn't make flamingos pink. It made them able to advertise their diet through their appearance, turning nutrition into a visual display that influences mate selection. platypuses hunt with electroreception. The platypus has electroreceptors in its bill that detect the electrical fields produced by the muscle contractions of prey. When it dives, it closes its eyes, ears, and nostrils, relying entirely on this electrical sense to hunt. The ability evolved in an ancestor that lived in murky, freshwater environments where vision was less useful. Evolution gave the platypus a sixth sense, one that works in darkness and silence, reading the invisible signals of life in the water. Ant colonies function like a single organism. An ant colony behaves in many ways like a superorganism, where individual ants are more like cells than independent creatures. No single ant understands the whole operation, yet together they build complex structures, farm, wage war, and raise young. This level of organization evolved through millions of years of social evolution, where cooperation and division of labor became so extreme that individuals cannot survive on their own. The colony is the true unit of evolution, not the ant. Spider webs are stronger than steel by weight. Spider silk is one of the toughest natural materials known, with a tensile strength greater than steel and an elasticity that allows it to stretch without breaking. Different glands produce different types of silk, each optimized for a specific purpose, like trapping prey, wrapping eggs, or creating drag lines. Evolution didn't create this material all at once. It refined it over hundreds of millions of years, tweaking the protein structure at the molecular level. A spider's web is not just a trap. It's a masterpiece of engineering. Hagfish produce slime as a defense. When threatened, hagfish release a small amount of milky substance that, when mixed with seawater, expands into liters of thick, sticky slime within seconds. This slime clogs the gills of predators, forcing them to retreat. The hagfish can then tie itself into a knot to scrape the slime off its own body and swim away. Evolution gave hagfish a defense that is simple, effective, and disgusting, turning vulnerability into survival through chemistry. Salmon returned to the exact stream where they were born. After spending years in the ocean, salmon migrate back to spawn in the same stream where they hatched. They navigate using a combination of the Earth's magnetic field, the position of the sun, and, most remarkably, their sense of smell. They remember the chemical signature of their birth stream and follow it home across thousands of miles. This extraordinary navigation evolved because returning to a successful spawning ground increases the chances of offspring survival. The journey is dangerous and exhausting, and most salmon die shortly after spawning. But the instinct to return is absolute, written into their biology like a map carved in water. Ants can carry up to 50 times their body weight. Ants have incredibly strong muscles relative to their size, allowing them to lift and carry objects many times heavier than themselves. This strength comes from their small size. As animals get smaller, their strength-to-weight ratio increases because of the way muscles and body mass scale. Evolution didn't make ants strong in the way we think of strength. It made them small enough that physics did the rest. Their power is a side effect of scale, but it serves them well in building colonies, transporting food, and working collectively. Hummingbirds have the highest metabolism of any bird. To sustain their rapid wing beats and high-energy lifestyle, hummingbirds have an extraordinarily fast metabolism. Their heart rate can exceed 1,200 beats per minute, and they must consume more than their body weight in nectar every day. At night, they enter a state called torpor, lowering their body temperature and metabolism to conserve energy. Without this adaptation, they would starve before morning. Evolution pushed hummingbirds to the edge of what a warm-blooded animal can sustain, balancing flight, speed, and survival in a constant race against energy depletion. The oldest fossils are over 3.5 billion years old, in ancient rock formations in Australia and South Africa. Scientists have found stromatolites, layered structures created by cyanobacteria over 3.5 billion years ago. These are some of the earliest evidence of life on Earth. The bacteria that formed them were photosynthetic, releasing oxygen and slowly transforming the planet's atmosphere. Without them, complex life as we know it would never have evolved. Every breath you take is possible because of microbes that lived and died billions of years before the first animal ever moved. Cuttlefish can hypnotize their prey. Cuttlefish have the ability to rapidly change the color and pattern of their skin, creating waves of light and dark that ripple across their bodies. This display can mesmerize small fish and crustaceans, freezing them in place long enough for the cuttlefish to strike. The mechanism involves thousands of chromatophores, pigment cells controlled by muscles and nerves. Evolution gave cuttlefish not just camouflage, but a way to manipulate the perception of others, turning their skin into a weapon of confusion. Some wasps lay eggs inside other insects. Parasitoid wasps have evolved to lay their eggs inside the bodies of caterpillars, spiders, and other insects. The larvae hatch and consume the host from the inside, eventually bursting out to pupate. This gruesome strategy is highly effective, and thousands of wasp species use variations of it. Evolution shaped these wasps into precise hunters, each species often targeting a specific host. It's brutal, but it's also a finely tuned relationship that has existed for over 100 million years. Nature is not gentle, it's efficient. Sea cucumbers can expel their internal organs as a defense. When threatened, some sea cucumbers eject their internal organs through their anus, distracting or entangling predators. The organs are sticky and sometimes toxic. Afterward, the sea cucumber regenerates the lost organs over a few weeks. This defense mechanism evolved in slow-moving animals that can't flee. By sacrificing part of themselves, they survive. Evolution favored those who could regrow what they lost, turning vulnerability into a renewable shield. Archerfish shoot water to knock down insects. Archerfish have evolved the ability to spit a jet of water at insects perched on branches above the water's surface. They adjust for refraction, angle, and distance, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of physics. Once the insect falls, the fish snaps it up. This hunting method likely evolved in mangrove and riverine environments where insects are abundant but out of reach. Evolution gave archerfish precision, patience, and a hunting tool built from water and pressure. Starfish can regenerate entire bodies from a single arm. If a starfish is cut into pieces, and each piece contains part of the central disc, each fragment can regenerate into a full starfish. This extraordinary regenerative ability evolved as both a survival mechanism and, in some species, a form of asexual reproduction. Evolution gave starfish the power to turn injury into multiplication, allowing them to recover from predation and spread across the seafloor even when fragmented. Wolves change rivers. When wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park, they didn't just reduce the elk population. they changed the behavior of elk, which began avoiding open valleys and riverbanks where they were vulnerable. This allowed vegetation to recover. Trees grew taller, riverbanks stabilized, birds and beavers returned. Even the physical shape of the rivers changed as erosion decreased. This is called a trophic cascade, where a top predator influences the entire ecosystem. Evolution shaped wolves as regulators, their presence rippling through every level of life, reshaping the land itself. Jellyfish have been around for over 500 million years. Jellyfish are some of the oldest animals on Earth, predating fish, insects, and even trees. Their simple body plan, a bell, tentacles, and a decentralized nerve net, has remained largely unchanged because it works. They thrive in every ocean, from the surface to the deep sea, proof that simplicity can be as successful as complexity. Evolution didn't push jellyfish toward brains or bones. It let them drift, patient and translucent through 500 million years of planetary change. Bees dance to communicate. Honeybees perform a waggle dance to tell other bees the location of flowers. The angle of the dance indicates the direction relative to the sun. The duration of the waggle indicates the distance. It's a symbolic language, abstract and precise, evolved over millions of years. No other insect communicates location with such detail. Evolution gave bees not just cooperation, but a way to share knowledge, turning the hive into a collective mind that thinks in movement and sunlight. Some birds migrate over 10,000 miles. The Arctic tern holds the record for the longest migration, traveling over 44,000 miles each year from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back. This journey allows them to experience 2 summers, maximizing feeding opportunities. Evolution favored birds that could endure these journeys, refining their navigation, stamina, and physiology. Migration is not a choice. It's a deeply embedded instinct, written into their bodies and triggered by the changing angle of the sun. Chimpanzees share 98.8% of their DNA with humans. Humans and chimpanzees diverged from a common ancestor around 6 to 7 million years ago, but our genomes remain remarkably similar. The differences lie not so much in the genes themselves, but in how and when they are expressed. Small changes in regulatory regions can have huge effects on development, leading to differences in brain size, posture, and behavior. Evolution shows us that even a 1.2% difference can reshape a species entirely, turning a tree climber into a tool maker. Some fish can change sex. Many species of fish, including clownfish and parrotfish, can change sex during their lifetime. In clownfish, if the dominant female dies, the largest male in the group will transform into a female and take her place. This flexibility evolved in environments where finding a mate is difficult or where social structure is rigid. Evolution gave these fish the ability to adapt their own bodies to the needs of the group, ensuring reproduction continues no matter what. Vultures have stomach acid strong enough to dissolve bones. Vultures feed on carrion, often infected with bacteria and toxins that would kill other animals. To survive this diet, they evolved extremely acidic stomach fluids, with a pH as low as 1, strong enough to break down bone and neutralize pathogens like anthrax and botulism. Evolution made vultures the cleanup crew of ecosystems, capable of safely consuming death and recycling nutrients that would otherwise be locked in decaying flesh. Moths are older than flowers. Moths have been around for over 200 million years, long before flowering plants evolved. When flowers did appear, Moths and butterflies co-evolved with them, developing long tongues to reach nectar and becoming key pollinators. But the earliest moths fed on other things, like spores, pollen, and fermenting sap. Evolution linked the fate of moths and flowers so tightly that today, the diversity of one mirrors the diversity of the other. They grew together, shaping each other in a dance that has lasted 100 million years. Camels can drink 40 gallons of water in one sitting. After days or weeks without water, a camel can rehydrate rapidly, drinking up to 40 gallons in just 10 minutes. Their red blood cells are oval-shaped, which allows them to continue flowing even when the blood becomes thick from dehydration. This ability evolved in desert environments, where water sources are rare and unpredictable. Camels don't store water in their humps, they store fat. But their entire physiology is designed to conserve and efficiently use whatever water they can find. Evolution made them masters of endurance in one of Earth's harshest climates. The moon jellyfish has no brain, yet it knows when to swim. Moon jellyfish drift through the ocean with translucent bells that pulse gently, propelling them through the water. They have no brain, no centralized nervous system, yet they respond to light, gravity, and the presence of food. Their body is a distributed network of nerves that processes information collectively, like a democracy of cells where every part has a vote. Evolution didn't require a brain to create behavior. It found another way, spreading intelligence across the entire organism so that the jellyfish itself becomes a single thinking membrane. In the quiet depths where they float, consciousness takes a different form. One without thought, without memory, but still aware, still alive. Salmon can smell 1 part per billion. A salmon's sense of smell is so refined it can detect the chemical signature of its birth stream at concentrations as low as 1 part per billion. That's like detecting a single drop of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. This ability evolved because returning to the right stream is a matter of life and death. The wrong river means the wrong conditions for eggs, and the lineage ends. Evolution fine-tuned their olfactory system to extraordinary precision, turning the ocean into a map written in molecules. Every river has a scent, and salmon carry the memory of it from birth, encoded not in their minds, but in their noses. Barnacles are crustaceans, not mollusks. Barnacles might look like shellfish, but they're actually crustaceans, more closely related to crabs and lobsters than to clams or oysters. They begin life as free-swimming larvae, drifting through the ocean until they find a suitable surface. Then they cement themselves in place, head down, and spend the rest of their lives kicking food into their mouths with feathery legs. This bizarre life cycle evolved as a way to exploit stable surfaces in the turbulent intertidal zone. Evolution took a creature built for swimming and transformed it into a permanent resident of rocks, ships, and even whales. What looks like a shell is actually a fortress, and inside a shrimp kicks at the world upside down. Crickets hear through their knees. Crickets have ears, but not on their heads. Their hearing organs are located on their front legs, just below the knees. These tiny membranes, called tympanal organs, detect vibrations and allow crickets to hear the songs of other crickets. Males sing to attract mates, and females use their knee ears to locate them. This unusual placement evolved because crickets' bodies are so small that sound waves interact differently with them than with larger animals. Evolution positioned their ears where they'd be most effective, and it happened to be in their legs. Hearing doesn't require a head. It just requires a surface that can vibrate in response to sound. Some mushrooms glow in the dark. Bioluminescent mushrooms produce a soft, eerie glow that can light up the forest floor. At night, the light is produced through a chemical reaction similar to that in fireflies. Scientists believe the glow may attract insects, which then help spread the mushroom's spores. This luminescence evolved independently in fungi, separate from all other bioluminescent organisms. It's a case of convergent evolution, where the same solution, making light through chemistry, appeared in completely unrelated lineages. In the darkness of the forest, these mushrooms don't just grow. They shine, quiet beacons in the leaf litter. Hippos secrete their own sunscreen. Hippos spend much of their day submerged in water, but when they do emerge, their skin is vulnerable to the intense African sun. To protect themselves, they secrete a reddish, oily substance that acts as both sunscreen and antibiotic. This secretion, sometimes called blood sweat, filters out ultraviolet light and prevents bacterial infections on their skin. Evolution gave hippos their own built-in skin care, produced by specialized glands and adjusted automatically based on sun exposure. It's not sweat and it's not blood. It's something unique, a chemical shield crafted over millions of years. Some trees can live for thousands of years by cloning themselves. The Pando aspen grove in Utah is a single organism. What looks like a forest of separate trees is actually one massive root system that has been sending up genetically identical stems for over 80,000 years. Each trunk lives and dies, but the root system endures, making Pando one of the oldest and heaviest living organisms on Earth. This form of clonal reproduction evolved in environments where seeds struggled to germinate, allowing the organism to spread and persist without the risks of sexual reproduction. Evolution made Pando not just a tree, but an immortal network, a forest that is one. Frogs don't drink through their mouths. Frogs absorb water directly through their skin, particularly through a specialized patch on their bellies called the pelvic patch. This allows them to rehydrate quickly by sitting in water, or even on damp ground. Their skin is highly permeable, which is also why they're so sensitive to pollution and environmental changes. Evolution gave frogs a shortcut. They don't need to swallow or process water internally. They just soak it in. A passive, efficient system that works as long as the water is clean. In a changing world, that sensitivity has become a vulnerability, a reminder that adaptations are only as good as the environment they evolved in. Male seahorses compete by showing off their empty pouches. In seahorse courtship, males display their empty brood pouches to females, inflating and deflating them to show they're ready to carry eggs. The female then deposits her eggs into the pouch, and the male fertilizes and incubates them. This role reversal evolved in environments where producing eggs is more costly than carrying them. By shifting the burden to males, females can produce more eggs more quickly. Evolution doesn't follow gender roles. It follows efficiency. In seahorses, the males are the ones who carry the weight of the next generation. Turtles navigate using Earth's magnetic field. Sea turtles hatch on beaches, scramble to the ocean, and then disappear for years, swimming thousands of miles across open water. When it's time to reproduce, they return to the same beach where they were born. They navigate using the Earth's magnetic field, essentially reading the planet's invisible grid. Each location has a unique magnetic signature, and turtles imprint on it as hatchlings. Evolution gave them an internal compass, one that doesn't rely on landmarks or stars, but on the subtle pull of the planet itself. They are, in a sense, walking along lines we cannot see. Some plants can hear. Studies have shown that plants respond to sound, particularly vibrations. Roots grow toward the sound of running water, and some flowers increase nectar production when they hear the buzz of a bee. This isn't hearing in the way animals do, but it's a form of perception, a way of sensing vibrations and responding to them. Evolution gave plants a way to interact with their environment without ears or nerves, using their entire structure as a sensing organ. The world is full of vibrations, and plants, silent and still as they seem, are listening. Crocodiles can hold their breath for hours. Crocodiles have an incredibly efficient respiratory system that allows them to stay submerged for extended periods, sometimes over an hour. They slow their heart rate, redirect blood flow to essential organs, and tolerate high levels of carbon dioxide in their blood. This ability evolved for ambush hunting. A crocodile can lie motionless at the water's edge, invisible and patient, waiting for prey to come close. Evolution didn't make crocodiles fast or agile on land. It made them capable of absolute stillness, of becoming part of the water until the moment it demands action. The human yawn is contagious across species. Yawning is contagious not just among humans, but between humans and dogs, and even among chimpanzees. The exact reason isn't fully understood, but it may be linked to empathy and social bonding. When you yawn and your dog yawns in response, it may be a sign of emotional connection. Evolution shaped this behavior as a way to synchronize group activity or signal a shift in alertness. It's a small, unconscious gesture, but it travels between minds, a biological ripple that connects us to those we care about. Some spiders can fly using electricity. Ballooning spiders release silk threads into the air and ride them like kites, sometimes traveling hundreds of miles. For a long time, scientists thought wind alone carried them, but recent research shows they can detect and use the Earth's electric field to gain lift. This ability evolved as a way to colonize new habitats quickly. A single spider can launch itself into the air and land far away, founding new populations. Evolution gave spiders wings made of silk and electricity, allowing them to soar without feathers or hollow bones. Elephants mourn their dead. Elephants have been observed standing vigil over the bodies of deceased family members, touching the bones gently with their trunks and returning to the site over days or weeks. They show signs of distress and what appears to be grief. This behavior suggests a level of emotional complexity and awareness of death that's rare in the animal kingdom. Evolution gave elephants not just intelligence, but emotional depth, the capacity to recognize loss and respond to it. They remember their dead, and in that memory, something like sorrow lives. Crows can make and use compound tools. In New Caledonia, crows have been observed crafting tools from multiple parts. They'll bend a wire into a hook or combine sticks to reach food. Some even create toolkits, carrying multiple implements for different tasks. This level of tool use rivals that of great apes. Evolution gave crows the cognitive flexibility to see objects as potential solutions, to imagine a future where the tool exists, and then bring it into being. Their intelligence didn't come from a large brain. It came from a brain organized in just the right way. Whales sing songs that can travel across entire oceans. Humpback whale songs are among the most complex in the animal kingdom, with repeating patterns, phrases, and themes that change over time. These songs can travel for hundreds, even thousands of miles through the ocean, bouncing off underwater mountains and the sea surface. The songs may be used to attract mates, establish territory, or simply communicate across vast distances. Evolution gave whales a language without words, carried in sound waves that move through water like light through air. The ocean is full of voices, singing to each other in the deep. Cats have a third eyelid. If you've ever seen a thin, translucent membrane slide across your cat's eye, you've seen the nictitating membrane, a third eyelid that protects the eye and keeps it moist. This membrane is common in many animals, including birds, reptiles, and some mammals. In cats, it usually stays hidden, but it becomes visible when the cat is sick or relaxed. Evolution retained this structure from earlier ancestors, a remnant of a time when all vertebrates had this extra layer of protection. In cats, it's mostly vestigial, but it's still there, a quiet reminder of shared ancestry. Raccoons have more nerve endings in their paws than most mammals have in their hands. Raccoons are incredibly tactile animals. Their front paws are packed with nerve endings, giving them a sense of touch so refined they can identify objects underwater without seeing them. When they appear to be washing their food, they're actually feeling it, gathering information through touch. This heightened sensitivity evolved because raccoons are opportunistic feeders, needing to assess food quickly and accurately in murky water or darkness. Evolution made their paws into sensory organs as precise as human fingertips. Some fish can walk on land. Mud skippers are fish that spend much of their time out of water, hopping across mud flats and even climbing mangrove roots. They breathe through their skin and the lining of their mouths, and they can survive for days on land as long as they stay moist. This ability evolved in tidal environments where the water recedes, and staying behind offers access to food and safety from aquatic predators. Mud skippers are not transitioning to land permanently. They're exploiting a niche that exists at the boundary, a place where water and air meet. Ants survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. When an asteroid struck Earth 66 million years ago, it triggered a mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs and most large animals. But ants, small and adaptable, survived. They thrived in the aftermath, diversifying into thousands of species and colonizing nearly every terrestrial habitat on the planet. Evolution favored the small, the social, and the flexible. While giants fell, ants endured, building their empires underground and in the leaf litter, patient and persistent. The longest-lived vertebrate is the Greenland shark. Greenland sharks can live for over 400 years, making them the longest-lived vertebrates known. They grow incredibly slowly and don't reach sexual maturity until they're around 150 years old. This extreme longevity evolved in the cold, deep waters of the Arctic, where metabolism is slow and life unfolds at a glacial pace. Evolution didn't optimize these sharks for speed or reproduction. It optimized them for endurance, allowing them to outlast centuries, moving through the dark, cold ocean like living time capsules. Butterflies remember their lives as caterpillars. During metamorphosis, A caterpillar's body essentially dissolves inside the chrysalis, breaking down into a cellular soup before reorganizing into a butterfly. Yet, studies have shown that butterflies retain some memories from the caterpillar stage. Certain learned behaviors and aversions persist across the transformation. This suggests that some neural structures survive the process, carrying information across one of the most dramatic transformations in nature. Evolution preserved memory through metamorphosis, a thread of continuity in a body remade from scratch. Some sharks must keep swimming to breathe. Obligate ram ventilators like great white sharks and mako sharks must swim continuously to push water over their gills. If they stop, they suffocate. This constraint evolved in vast, open ocean predators, where constant movement is already part of their hunting strategy. Evolution didn't give them the luxury of rest. It gave them speed, power, and the requirement to keep moving. They are perpetual motion, bound by biology to a life without stillness. The platypus sweats milk. Female platypuses don't have nipples. Instead, they secrete milk through pores in their skin, and it pools in grooves on their abdomen. The young lap it up directly from the mother's belly. This primitive method of nursing reflects the platypus's ancient lineage, a bridge between egg-laying reptiles and modern mammals. Evolution hasn't erased this ancient trait. It simply carried it forward, a reminder that even mammals were once something else, something stranger. Sperm whales sleep vertically. Sperm whales have been observed sleeping in a vertical position, hanging motionless in the water column, with their heads pointed up or down. They enter these brief, deep sleeps for only about 10 to 15 minutes at a time, likely because they need to return to the surface to breathe. Evolution shaped their sleep around their need for air, creating a rest that's brief, deep, and strange to witness. A pod of sleeping sperm whales, suspended in the blue, looks less like animals and more like sculptures, frozen in time. Peacock mantis shrimp can punch with the force of a bullet. The mantis shrimp's club-like appendages can strike with a speed of over 50 miles per hour, generating forces over 1,500 newtons. The impact is so fast, it creates cavitation bubbles that collapse with a second shock wave, doubling the damage. This punch can shatter aquarium glass and crack open the shells of snails and crabs. Evolution turned the mantis shrimp's limbs into biological hammers, accelerated by a spring-loaded mechanism that stores and releases energy faster than any muscle alone could achieve. They are tiny, colorful, and devastating. Honeybees can count to 4. In experiments, honeybees have demonstrated the ability to count objects up to 4, and even understand the concept of 0. They can be trained to fly through a specific number of landmarks to reach a reward. This basic numerical ability evolved because bees need to navigate complex environments and remember spatial relationships. Evolution gave them a sense of quantity without the need for language or abstract thought. They know numbers not as symbols, but as patterns in the world. Some frogs can survive being frozen solid. Wood frogs and spring peepers can endure winter by allowing up to 70% of the water in their bodies to freeze. Their hearts stop, their breathing ceases, and ice forms in their blood and tissues. To survive, they flood their cells with glucose and other cryoprotectants that prevent ice crystals from puncturing cell membranes. When spring arrives, they thaw and resume normal life. Evolution gave these frogs the ability to die and come back, to turn winter into a form of suspended animation. Freezing is not death for them. It's just waiting. The human heart develops from a simple tube. In the early stages of human development, the heart begins as a straight tube that twists and folds into the complex four-chambered organ we're born with. This process mirrors the evolutionary history of the heart, from the simple two-chambered hearts of fish to the more complex hearts of mammals. Development recapitulates evolution, not perfectly, but in echoes. Every human heart passes through stages that reflect hundreds of millions of years of vertebrate history, from fish to amphibian to mammal, all in a few weeks inside the womb. Some caterpillars can mimic bird droppings. To avoid being eaten, certain caterpillars have evolved to look exactly like bird droppings. They're mottled brown and white, irregularly shaped, and they even position themselves on leaves in ways that enhance the disguise. Predators ignore them, assuming they're worthless waste. This form of camouflage is called masquerade, where an animal imitates an uneatable object rather than blending into the background. Evolution made these caterpillars invisible, not by hiding them, but by making them look like something no predator would want to eat. Dolphins have names for each other. Each bottlenose dolphin develops a unique signature whistle early in life, and other dolphins use that whistle to call to that specific individual. It's essentially a name. Dolphins will respond to their own whistle and use the whistles of others to get their attention. This form of vocal labeling evolved in a species that lives in murky water, where vision is limited. Sound became the primary way to identify and communicate with individuals. Evolution gave dolphins language, not with words, but with whistles, each one a name echoing through the sea. Albatrosses can fly for hours without flapping. Albatrosses use a technique called dynamic soaring, riding wind currents and gradients to gain altitude and speed without expending energy. They can glide for hours, even days, covering thousands of miles with minimal effort. This ability evolved in seabirds that need to travel vast distances over open ocean to find food. Evolution made them masters of efficiency, turning the wind itself into fuel. They don't fight the air. They ride it, patient and graceful, across the endless blue. Some ants explode to defend their colonies. In certain species of carpenter ants, minor workers have the ability to rupture their own bodies, spraying sticky, toxic fluid on attackers. This autothysis is a last resort defense, sacrificing the individual for the survival of the colony. The behavior evolved in species where the colony itself is a unit of selection, not the individual ant. Evolution doesn't care about the ant. It cares about the genes, and those genes survive in the sisters who remain, protected by the sacrifice of the one who exploded. The Greenland shark is so slow, it's nicknamed the sleeper shark. Greenland sharks move at an average speed of about 0.76 miles per hour, making them one of the slowest swimming fish. Yet, they hunt seals, which are fast and agile. Scientists believe the sharks ambush sleeping seals or scavenge already dead ones. Their slow metabolism and cold environment mean they don't need much energy, and evolution didn't push them toward speed. It pushed them toward patience. In the deep, cold Arctic waters, slowness is not a weakness. It's a strategy. Beavers can hold their breath for 15 minutes. When a beaver dives to work on its dam or escape a predator, it can stay underwater for up to 15 minutes. Special flaps close off their nose and ears, and their lips seal behind their front teeth. allowing them to gnaw on wood underwater without drowning. Their heart rate slows, and blood is redirected to vital organs. Evolution gave beavers the tools to be aquatic engineers, reshaping rivers and wetlands one submerged branch at a time. They're as comfortable underwater as on land, moving between worlds with ease. The lyrebird can mimic almost any sound. The male, superb lyrebird of Australia can imitate not just other birds, but chainsaws, car alarms, camera shutters, and even human voices. This mimicry is part of elaborate courtship displays where males show off their vocal range to attract females. The ability evolved because females prefer males with the most complex songs, favoring those with the biggest repertoires. Evolution pushed lyrebirds toward virtuosity, turning them into the world's most accomplished vocal mimics. They don't just sing. They perform entire acoustic landscapes. Owls can rotate their heads 170 degrees because their blood vessels are specially adapted. When an owl turns its head, it risks cutting off blood flow to the brain. To prevent this, owls have extra room in their neck vertebrae for blood vessels to move through, and they have small reservoirs that pool blood, ensuring the brain stays supplied even when the head is fully rotated. Their eyes are fixed in their sockets, so this extreme neck flexibility is essential for vision. Evolution didn't just give owls rotating heads, it redesigned their entire circulatory system to make it safe. Clownfish are all born male. Clownfish live in groups with a strict hierarchy. At the top is a breeding female, followed by a breeding male, and then several non-breeding males. If the female dies, the breeding male transforms into a female, and the next male in line becomes the breeding male. This sequential hermaphroditism evolved in animals that live in small, isolated groups, where finding a new mate from outside is difficult. Evolution gave clownfish flexibility, the ability to change their own bodies to fit the needs of the social structure. Sharks have been around longer than Saturn's rings. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years. Saturn's rings, by contrast, are estimated to be between 100 and 400 million years old, possibly younger. Sharks predate trees, flowers, and even the northern lights as we know them. Their basic body plan has worked for so long because it's efficient, adaptable, and lethal. Evolution refined sharks into a design so effective that the oceans have never stopped needing them. They are older than much of the solar system's current architecture, swimming through deep time while planets shifted and moons formed. The mantis shrimp has the fastest punch in the animal kingdom. A mantis shrimp's strike accelerates faster than a bullet from a gun. The speed is so extreme that the water around the strike boils momentarily, creating cavitation bubbles. When those bubbles collapse, they emit light and heat, a phenomenon called sonoluminescence. The mantis shrimp doesn't just hit its prey. It creates a shockwave, a secondary impact that can stun or kill even if the first strike misses. Evolution created a weapon that transcends biology, turning a simple limb into a physics experiment. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals. What looks like rock or plant is actually the calcium carbonate skeletons of countless tiny animals called polyps. Each coral polyp is related to jellyfish and anemones, a soft-bodied creature that secretes a hard skeleton around itself. Over generations, these skeletons accumulate, forming vast structures that can be seen from space. Coral reefs are some of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, built slowly, one polyp at a time. Evolution gave these animals the ability to construct entire landscapes, not through thought, but through biology, layer by patient layer. Pigeons can see magnetic fields. Pigeons and many other birds have a protein in their eyes called cryptochrome that may allow them to visually perceive Earth's magnetic field. This gives them an extra layer of navigation, overlaying the world with invisible lines of force. They don't just see the sky. They see the planet's magnetic structure, a map written in fields we cannot sense. Evolution wired this ability into their vision, turning their eyes into compasses. Electric eels aren't eels. Despite their name, electric eels are not true eels. They're a type of knifefish, more closely related to catfish than to eels. They evolved the ability to generate electric shocks up to 600 volts, which they use to stun prey and defend against predators. They have 3 electric organs that run along their bodies, made of modified muscle cells. Evolution took muscle, which normally contracts, and turned it into a biological battery. The electric eel's body is a living circuit, channeling energy not into movement, but into shock. Hummingbirds can remember every flower they've visited. Hummingbirds have exceptional spatial memory. They can remember the location of every flower they've fed from and how long ago they visited it, returning only when the flower has had time to refill with nectar. This prevents them from wasting energy on empty flowers. Their memory is so precise that in experiments, they've been shown to remember feeding locations for over a year. Evolution gave them a mental map, constantly updated, of the landscape and its resources. They navigate not by landmarks, but by memory, time, and instinct. Jellyfish have no heart, no blood, and no brain, yet they've survived for over 500 million years. The simplicity of jellyfish is their strength. Without complex organs, there's less to go wrong. They're made mostly of water, with a basic nerve net and a gut. They drift with currents, capturing prey with stinging tentacles. Evolution didn't push jellyfish toward complexity. It let them remain simple, and that simplicity proved to be one of the most durable body plans in the history of life. They survived every mass extinction, every climate shift, by being almost nothing at all. The immortal jellyfish can reverse its aging process. Turritopsis doherni, the so-called immortal jellyfish, can revert its cells to an earlier developmental stage when stressed, injured, or aging. An adult can transform back into a polyp, essentially restarting its life. This process can theoretically repeat indefinitely, making the jellyfish biologically immortal. Evolution gave this tiny creature a loophole in the rules of life and death, a way to rewrite its own story when the end approaches. It's not invincible, but has found a way to cheat time, cycling endlessly between youth and maturity. Houseflies taste with their feet. Like butterflies, houseflies have taste receptors on their feet. When they land on food, they instantly know whether it's worth eating. If it is, they vomit digestive enzymes onto it and then suck up the liquefied meal. Evolution gave flies a feeding system that's efficient, if unappetizing. Their feet are their first line of sensory input, and their stomachs are external. It's a body plan optimized for scavenging, for finding food quickly and extracting nutrients even faster. Emperor penguins can dive over 1,800 feet deep. Emperor penguins are the deepest diving birds, capable of reaching depths of over 1,800 feet and staying submerged for more than 20 minutes. They hunt fish and squid in the dark, cold waters beneath the Antarctic ice. To survive these dives, their bodies have evolved to store extra oxygen in their blood and muscles, and they can slow their heart rate to conserve energy. Evolution made them as much creatures of water as of ice, pushing them into depths that would crush most other birds. They are divers in a world of extremes. Venus flytraps count to 5. A Venus flytrap won't close on just one touch. It counts. 2 touches of the trigger hairs within about 20 seconds cause the trap to snap shut. But the plant continues counting. If the prey struggles, triggering more touches, the plant releases digestive enzymes. 5 touches mean the prey is real, worth digesting. Evolution gave this plant a way to make decisions without a brain, using electrical signals and chemical thresholds. It's a system of logic built into leaves, a biological if-then statement that determines life or death for the insect inside. Bats use echolocation so precise they can detect objects thinner than a human hair. Some bat species can detect wires less than a millimeter thick in complete darkness using only sound. They emit ultrasonic calls and listen to the echoes, building a mental map of the space around them. The calls can vary in frequency, duration, and pattern, giving bats extraordinary detail about size, shape, texture, and even movement. Evolution gave bats the ability to see with sound, turning the night into a landscape of echoes. They navigate a world that's invisible to us, rich and detailed, painted entirely in sound. Ravens can hold grudges for years. Ravens have been shown to remember individual humans who have wronged them and to teach other ravens about those individuals. They'll avoid, harass, or mob people they recognize as threats, and this knowledge spreads through the group. Evolution gave ravens memory, social learning, and something that looks a lot like culture. They don't just react to the present, they carry the past with them, and they share it. The Pacific geoduck clam can live for over 160 years. The geoduck is one of the longest-lived clams, with some individuals confirmed to be over 160 years old. They live buried deep in the mud with only their siphon extending to the surface. Their slow metabolism and protected lifestyle allow them to outlast predators and environmental shifts. Evolution didn't make them fast or flashy. It made them durable, capable of weathering decades beneath the seafloor, filtering water and growing slowly in the dark. Some species of bees sleep holding onto flowers with their mandibles. At night, when it's too cold or dark to fly, some male bees find a flower, bite down gently and hang there, suspended as they sleep. They tuck their legs in, and their grip holds them through the night. It's a peaceful, almost tender image. A tiny insect trusting a flower to hold it while it rests. Evolution didn't script this behavior as essential. It just emerged, a small solution to the problem of where to sleep, and it works. In meadows everywhere, bees sleep on flowers, and the flowers hold them until morning. Arctic foxes change color with the seasons. In winter, Arctic foxes have thick white fur that blends with the snow. In summer, they shed and grow brown or gray fur to match the tundra. This seasonal camouflage helps them hunt and avoid predators year-round. The color change is triggered by daylight length, a biological signal that prepares the fox for the coming season. Evolution gave them a wardrobe, programmed into their genes, that changes automatically to match the world around them. Octopuses have been observed using coconut shells as portable shelters. In Indonesia, veined octopuses have been seen carrying coconut shell halves across the seafloor and assembling them into shelters. This is one of the few examples of tool use in invertebrates. The octopus doesn't just hide. It plans, carries, and constructs. Evolution gave it the flexibility, intelligence, and dexterity to manipulate its environment in ways that go beyond instinct. It thinks ahead, imagining safety and then creating it. Some plants can move surprisingly fast. The Mimosa pudica, or sensitive plant, folds its leaves within seconds of being touched. The telegraph plant moves its leaves continuously, even without stimulation. And the Venus flytrap snaps shut in a fraction of a second. These movements are driven by changes in water pressure within cells, not muscles, but they're fast and responsive. Evolution gave plants agency, a way to interact with the world that doesn't rely on brains or nerves, just chemistry and structure. They are not passive, they respond. Sharks don't have bones. A shark's skeleton is made entirely of cartilage, the same flexible tissue that forms your nose and ears. Cartilage is lighter than bone, which helps sharks stay buoyant and move efficiently. It's also more flexible, allowing for greater agility. This body plan evolved early and has served sharks for hundreds of millions of years. They are ancient, efficient, and built from softer materials than most vertebrates. Evolution doesn't always favor hardness. Sometimes flexibility is the better choice. Kangaroo rats never need to drink water. The kangaroo rat lives in deserts and gets all the water it needs from the seeds it eats. Its kidneys are so efficient they produce urine that's highly concentrated, losing almost no water. It also seals itself in burrows during the day, where humidity is higher, further conserving moisture. Evolution made this tiny rodent a master of water conservation, able to live its entire life without a single drink. In one of the driest places on Earth, it thrives, not by finding water, but by using every molecule of moisture with precision. Moose are excellent swimmers. Despite their size, moose are surprisingly good in water. They can swim for miles, even diving over 15 feet deep to feed on aquatic plants. Their long legs and large bodies make them buoyant, and they've been observed swimming between islands and across rivers. Evolution gave moose a body built for snow, forests, and water. They're at home in all three, moving through ecosystems most large mammals wouldn't dare enter. Tarantulas can regrow lost legs. If a tarantula loses a leg to injury or predation, it can regrow it during its next molt. The new leg starts small and grows with each successive molt until it matches the others. This ability evolved in animals that face frequent threats from predators and rivals. Losing a limb isn't fatal, it's temporary. Evolution gave spiders a form of regeneration, allowing them to recover from damage that would permanently disable most animals. They molt, and in shedding their skin, they rebuild themselves. Some bats hibernate for over 6 months. During winter, when insects disappear, some bat species enter hibernation that can last more than half the year. Their body temperature drops to near freezing. Their heart rate slows to a few beats per minute, and they survive on stored fat. This state, called torpor, allows them to endure months without food. Evolution gave bats the ability to pause life, to wait out the cold and scarcity by slowing everything down until the world is ready for them again. They don't sleep, they stop. And when spring arrives, they wake. Sloths are so slow that algae grows on their fur. Sloths move so little that their fur becomes a tiny ecosystem. Algae, fungi, and even moths live in their coats. The algae gives them a greenish tint, which helps with camouflage. The moths lay eggs in sloth dung, and the larvae eventually migrate to the sloth's fur. It's a mobile habitat, a living environment shaped by the sloth's stillness. Evolution made sloths slow, and that slowness created space for other life to settle in, turning the sloth into a walking forest. Elephants can detect rainstorms from hundreds of miles away. Elephants are sensitive to low-frequency sounds and seismic vibrations. They can hear the rumble of distant thunderstorms and feel the vibrations of rain hitting the ground far beyond the horizon. This allows them to navigate toward water sources during dry seasons. Evolution gave elephants a kind of foresight, the ability to sense water before it's visible, to move toward storms that haven't yet arrived. They listen to the earth and the air, and they follow what they hear. Penguins propose to each other with pebbles. In some species, a male penguin will search for the smoothest, most perfect pebble he can find and present it to a female. If she accepts, she places it in her nest, and the bond is formed. Pebbles are valuable in the barren, rocky environments where penguins breed, used to build nests that keep eggs off the frozen ground. Offering a good pebble is a signal of effort and investment. Evolution turned a simple stone into a symbol, a gesture that says, "I see you, I choose you, and I'm ready to build with you." The octopus has more neurons in its arms than in its brain. An octopus's intelligence is distributed throughout its body. 2/3 of its neurons are located in its 8 arms, allowing each arm to act somewhat independently. An arm can solve problems, explore crevices, and even react to stimuli without waiting for instructions from the central brain. This decentralized nervous system evolved in an animal that needs to process information quickly while manipulating multiple objects simultaneously. Evolution gave the octopus a body that thinks, where intelligence isn't concentrated in one place but spread throughout, making every limb a semi-autonomous agent. Each arm has its own personality, its own way of solving problems, and together they form a creature that is more like 8 minds working in concert than a single consciousness controlling a body. Hummingbirds can see ultraviolet light and remember every flower. Hummingbirds don't just see the world as we do. They see additional colors in the ultraviolet spectrum, revealing patterns on flowers that guide them to nectar. Their vision is so acute they can track fast-moving insects in flight and judge distances with precision. Beyond sight, they possess extraordinary memory. A hummingbird remembers not just where flowers are, but when it visited each one, and how long it takes for that particular flower to refill with nectar. This combination of enhanced vision and spatial temporal memory evolved in birds that need to maximize energy intake while minimizing wasted effort. Every garden they visit becomes a mental map, constantly updated, with each flower marked by time and location. Evolution made them living calendars, navigating through space and time simultaneously. Tardigrades survived all 5 mass extinctions. While dinosaurs perished and countless species vanished, tardigrades endured every major extinction event in Earth's history. These microscopic water bears have survived the End-Ordovician extinction, the late Devonian extinction, the Permian-Triassic extinction that killed 96% of all species, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, and the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction that ended the dinosaurs. Their secret lies in their ability to enter cryptobiosis, a state of suspended animation where they can withstand extreme temperatures, radiation, pressure, and even the vacuum of space. Evolution gave tardigrades the ultimate survival strategy, the ability to shut down completely and wait, sometimes for decades, until conditions improve. They are not the strongest or the fastest. They are simply the most patient, the most resilient, tiny witnesses to the entire story of complex life on Earth. The pistol shrimp and goby fish share a home and protect each other. In one of nature's most charming partnerships, pistol shrimp and goby fish live together in burrows on the seafloor. The nearly blind shrimp digs and maintains the burrow, while the goby, with its excellent vision, stands guard at the entrance. The shrimp keeps one antenna touching the goby at all times. If danger approaches, the goby flicks its tail, and both retreat into the burrow. This mutualism evolved in environments where building shelter is difficult and predators are common. Neither species does well alone. Together, they thrive. Evolution didn't just shape their bodies, it shaped their relationship, a partnership so refined that it's written into their behavior, their trust encoded in a simple touch. Dolphins sleep with one eye open. Since dolphins must consciously breathe, they can't afford to fall fully asleep. Instead, they rest one hemisphere of their brain at a time while the other stays awake, a state called unhemispheric slow-wave sleep. The eye opposite the resting hemisphere closes, while the other stays open, watching for predators and keeping track of the pod. This remarkable adaptation allows dolphins to rest while remaining aware, to sleep while still swimming. Evolution solved the problem of being an air-breathing marine mammal by splitting consciousness itself, creating an animal that is always half awake, half dreaming, moving through the ocean in a state between waking and sleeping. The platypus has 10 sex chromosomes and electroreception. The platypus continues to be one of evolution's strangest experiments. It has 10 sex chromosomes arranged in a chain, unlike the simple XY system in most mammals. When it hunts, it closes its eyes, ears, and nostrils completely, navigating through murky rivers using electroreceptors in its bill that detect the electrical fields produced by muscle contractions in prey. It lays eggs but produces milk. It has venom but also fur. Evolution didn't create the platypus by following rules. It created it by breaking them, combining features from different lineages into a single animal that defies classification. The platypus is a reminder that evolution doesn't care about our categories. It simply makes what works. Some species of ants have been farming fungi for 50 million years. Long before humans discovered agriculture, leaf-cutter ants were cultivating crops. They cut pieces of leaves, carry them underground, chew them into mulch, and use that mulch to grow specific species of fungi that exist nowhere else in nature. The ants eat only the fungi, and the fungi survive only with the ants. This relationship has been evolving for 50 million years, longer than humans have existed as a species. The ants have become so specialized that they've evolved pouches in their mouths specifically for carrying fungal spores when a queen leaves to start a new colony. Evolution created not just a behavior, but an entire agricultural system, complete with crop selection, pest management, and seed storage. The ants are farmers, and they have been for longer than most mammals have existed. Ravens understand the concept of zero. In cognitive tests, ravens have demonstrated an understanding of zero as a quantity, not just the absence of something. They can be trained to recognize that zero is less than 1, placing it correctly on a numerical scale. This abstract understanding of nothingness as a value is rare in the animal kingdom, found only in a handful of species including humans, some primates, and a few bird species. Evolution gave ravens a mind capable of abstraction, of understanding concepts that have no physical form. Zero is an idea, and ravens grasp it, showing that intelligence evolved in birds along pathways entirely separate from mammals, yet arrived at similar destinations. The bird brain, though structured differently from ours, can hold the same kinds of thoughts. Bees can learn and teach each other new behaviors. When researchers taught individual bees a novel task, like pulling a string to access sugar water, or rolling a ball to get a reward, those bees then taught other bees in their hive. The knowledge spread socially, with bees learning by watching rather than through individual trial and error. This social learning suggests that bee colonies have culture, behaviors that are passed down not through genes but through observation and teaching. Evolution gave bees not just instinct but flexibility, the capacity to learn new things and share that knowledge. A hive is not just a collection of individuals following genetic programming. It's a community that learns, adapts, and remembers collectively. The bombardier beetle shoots boiling chemicals from its abdomen. When threatened, the bombardier beetle mixes two chemicals in a special chamber in its abdomen, creating a violent exothermic reaction that produces a spray at the boiling point of water, around 100 degrees Celsius. The beetle can aim this spray with remarkable precision using steerable nozzles. The chemicals are stored separately and only combined at the moment of defense, preventing the beetle from burning itself. This extraordinary defense mechanism evolved through the gradual refinement of chemical glands, with each step providing some advantage until the full system emerged. Evolution created a biological cannon, complete with storage chambers, mixing valves, and directional nozzles, all contained within an insect smaller than your thumb. Some trees can communicate warnings through their root systems. When a tree is attacked by insects, it can send chemical signals through its roots to neighboring trees, warning them of the threat. The receiving trees then begin producing defensive compounds, making their leaves less palatable to herbivores before they're even attacked. This underground network, facilitated by mycorrhizal fungi, connects entire forests in a web of chemical communication. Evolution shaped trees not as isolated individuals, but as members of a communicating community. A forest is not a collection of trees. It's a superorganism with information flowing through root systems and fungal threads, allowing trees to defend themselves collectively against threats. Hummingbirds' hearts beat over 1,200 times per minute during flight. To power their hovering flight and rapid wing beats, hummingbirds need an enormous amount of energy. Their hearts can beat more than 1,200 times per minute, and they take about 250 breaths per minute. Their metabolism is so fast that they're always just hours away from starvation. At night, to conserve energy, they enter torpor, dropping their body temperature and heart rate dramatically. Evolution pushed hummingbirds to the absolute limit of what a warm-blooded animal can sustain, creating a creature that lives life at high speed, burning energy at a rate that would kill most other birds. They exist at the edge of biological possibility, brilliantly colored and impossibly fast. Elephants have a specific alarm call for humans. Elephants have different alarm calls for different predators. They have one sound for lions, another for bees, and, critically, a specific call that means humans. When elephants hear this call, they gather protectively around young members of the herd and prepare to flee or defend. This call evolved relatively recently, over the past few thousand years, as humans became the primary threat to elephant populations. Evolution gave elephants the ability to recognize us as unique dangers, to distinguish human threats from all other predators, and to pass that knowledge socially through their herds. We are written into their language as a word that means danger. Owls fly almost silently due to specialized feathers. Owl feathers have evolved several unique adaptations for silent flight. The leading edge of their primary feathers has a comb-like structure that breaks up turbulence. The trailing edges are soft and frayed, dampening sound. The surface of the feathers is velvety, muffling the noise of air passing over them. These adaptations allow owls to fly in near silence, making them extraordinarily effective hunters. Prey don't hear them coming until it's too late. Evolution gave owls stealth not through invisibility, but through silence, redesigning every feather to eliminate sound. They are ghosts in the darkness, visible but inaudible. The mantis shrimp has 16 types of color receptors, compared to our 3, while humans have 3 types of color receptors, allowing us to see millions of colors. Mantis shrimp have 16 types. This doesn't necessarily mean they see more colors in the way we understand it, but rather that they process color information very differently. Scientists believe mantis shrimp might trade off color discrimination for speed, allowing them to recognize colors almost instantly without processing. Their visual system is so complex that researchers are still trying to understand exactly what the world looks like to them. Evolution gave mantis shrimp a way of seeing that we can barely imagine, a visual experience so alien that our brains lack the framework to comprehend it fully. They see a world we will never know. Crows can recognize and remember human faces for years. If you wrong a crow, it will remember you. In experiments, researchers wore masks while capturing and banding crows. Years later, when wearing those same masks, the researchers were immediately recognized and scolded by crows, even by crows that weren't present during the original capture. The crows had learned about the dangerous person from other crows. This ability to recognize faces, hold grudges, and teach others about specific individuals shows a level of social cognition that rivals primates. Evolution gave crows memory, facial recognition, and a culture of shared knowledge about threats. In the world of crows, reputation matters, and they remember. Some species of jellyfish can clone themselves when injured. When certain jellyfish are cut into pieces, each piece can develop into a complete new jellyfish. This form of asexual reproduction allows them to survive injuries that would kill most animals and to rapidly colonize new areas. A single individual can become many. Evolution gave these jellyfish resilience through multiplication, turning damage into opportunity. They don't just survive being torn apart, they use it as a chance to spread, each fragment becoming a new beginning. Wood ants collect resin to disinfect their nests. Wood ants bring pieces of tree resin into their nests, where the volatile compounds in the resin act as antimicrobials, killing bacteria and fungi. This self-medication behavior reduces disease in the colony. The ants aren't conscious of germ theory, but evolution shaped their behavior to include hygiene practices that work. they've been using antiseptics for millions of years, gathering medicine from trees and incorporating it into their homes. Evolution created tiny pharmacists, collecting compounds that keep their families healthy. The archerfish can spit water with enough force to knock insects off branches. Archerfish surface near the water's edge and spit precisely aimed streams of water at insects on overhanging vegetation, knocking them into the water where they can be eaten. They adjust for the refraction of light at the water's surface, essentially solving physics problems intuitively to calculate where the insect actually is versus where it appears to be. Young archerfish learn this skill by watching adults, improving their accuracy over time. Evolution gave archerfish a hunting tool made of water, combined with the intelligence to aim it, accounting for optical illusions, making them sharpshooters in the rivers and mangroves where they live. Naked mole rats don't age in the traditional sense. Naked mole rats show almost no signs of aging for most of their lives. Their mortality rate doesn't increase with age the way it does in almost all other mammals. A 2-year-old naked mole rat is as likely to die as a 20-year-old one. They maintain reproductive capacity, physical health, and cellular function far longer than expected for their size. Scientists are studying them intensely to understand how they resist the aging process. Evolution gave naked mole rats something close to biological immortality, not by making them live forever, but by making the passage of time affect them differently. They don't escape death, but they do escape most of the decline that precedes it. Bowerbirds build elaborate structures to attract mates. Male bowerbirds construct intricate structures called bowers, arranging sticks, leaves, flowers, shells, and even human-made objects like bottle caps and pieces of glass in carefully organized displays. Some species paint the walls of their bowers using crushed berries or charcoal mixed with saliva. They arrange objects by color and size, creating perspective effects that make the display look more impressive. Females visit multiple bowers before choosing a mate, judging males not by their physical traits, but by their artistic ability. Evolution made these birds architects and artists, where success in reproduction depends on aesthetic sense, creativity, and the ability to construct beauty from the forest floor. Some bacteria can survive in arsenic-rich environments by replacing phosphorus with arsenic. In Mono Lake, California, scientists discovered bacteria that can incorporate arsenic into their DNA in place of phosphorus. This was thought to be impossible, as phosphorus is considered one of the essential elements for life. These extremophile bacteria evolved the ability to use a toxic element as a building block, showing that life's chemistry is more flexible than we imagined. Evolution pushed life into environments we thought were uninhabitable and found solutions we thought were impossible. Life doesn't just adapt to its environment. Sometimes it rewrites its own fundamental chemistry. Octopuses can squeeze through any opening larger than their beak. An octopus's only hard part is its beak, a small, sharp structure used for eating. The rest of its body is entirely soft and flexible. This allows octopuses to squeeze through impossibly small spaces, sometimes holes smaller than their eye. They can flatten, stretch, and contort their bodies to escape predators or access hidden prey. Evolution gave them a body without a skeleton, where flexibility is absolute. They are liquid in form, shapeshifters that can become as small as their smallest part, pouring through gaps like water with intention. Hummingbirds can fly upside down and backwards. Hummingbirds are the only birds capable of sustained flight in any direction, including backwards and upside down. Their shoulder joints allow their wings to rotate in a full circle, and they can change the angle of their wings to generate thrust in any direction. This gives them unmatched maneuverability, allowing them to hover at flowers, fly backwards away from threats, and even perform elaborate aerial courtship displays that include loops and dives. Evolution gave hummingbirds flight that defies the usual rules for birds, turning their wings into rotors that can push air in any direction. They don't just fly, they dance in 3 dimensions. Wolves can change the course of rivers. When wolves were removed from Yellowstone National Park, deer populations exploded. Deer overgrazed vegetation along riverbanks, causing erosion. When wolves were reintroduced, deer changed their behavior, avoiding areas where they'd be vulnerable. Vegetation recovered. Trees grew. Their roots stabilized riverbanks. The physical course of rivers changed as erosion decreased. Beavers returned because there were trees for dams. Birds returned because there were trees for nesting. The entire ecosystem transformed. Evolution shaped wolves as keystone species, animals whose presence ripples through every level of the food web, literally reshaping the landscape. Their howls don't just mark territory, they sculpt rivers. The lyrebird has the most complex syrinx of any bird. The syrinx is the vocal organ in birds, and the lyrebird's is the most elaborate known. It has multiple sets of muscles controlling the shape of the sound-producing membranes, giving lyrebirds extraordinary vocal range and complexity. Male lyrebirds can mimic the calls of over 20 different bird species, along with chainsaws, car alarms, camera shutters, and crying babies. They weave these sounds into elaborate songs that can last over 20 minutes. Evolution gave lyrebirds the physical apparatus for mimicry and the cognitive ability to memorize and reproduce complex sounds. They are nature's recording devices, capturing and replaying the soundscape of the Australian forest. Tardigrades can repair their DNA after extreme radiation exposure. When tardigrades are exposed to radiation levels that would kill most organisms by shattering their DNA, they can repair the damage. They produce large amounts of proteins that protect DNA and others that help repair breaks in the genetic code. This ability allows them to survive conditions in space, in radioactive waste, and in other extreme environments. Evolution gave tardigrades a molecular repair kit, tools for fixing themselves at the genetic level. They are living proof that life, when pushed to its limits, doesn't break. It develops better repair systems. Certain species of caterpillars are carnivorous. Most caterpillars eat plants, but some species have evolved to eat insects instead. The Hawaiian carnivorous caterpillars are ambush predators, sitting motionless and grabbing passing prey with their front legs. They'll eat flies, moths, and even other caterpillars. This dramatic shift from herbivore to carnivore shows how flexible evolution can be. When the Hawaiian Islands formed, they were isolated from mainland species. Caterpillars that arrived there faced little competition for insect prey, and over time, some evolved into predators. Evolution took a leaf eater and made it a hunter, changing diet, behavior, and body structure to exploit a new niche. Humpback whales use bubble nets to hunt. Groups of humpback whales work together to herd fish using a technique called bubble net feeding. Whales swim in an upward spiral beneath a school of fish, releasing air bubbles that form a cylindrical net. The fish, trapped and confused by the wall of bubbles, ball up tightly. Then the whales swim upward through the center with their mouths open, swallowing thousands of fish at once. This cooperative hunting strategy requires coordination and timing, with different whales playing different roles. Some blow the bubbles, others herd the fish, and still others make sounds to keep the school together. Evolution didn't just make whales smart. It made them collaborative, capable of working together with precision to catch prey that individuals couldn't capture alone. The immortal jellyfish can reset its life cycle indefinitely. Turritopsis dohrnii can reverse its development, transforming from an adult back into its juvenile polyp stage. When injured, starving, or aging, it triggers a cellular process called transdifferentiation, where adult cells convert into different types of cells. The jellyfish essentially reboots itself, starting its life cycle over. This can theoretically happen indefinitely, making the species biologically immortal. Evolution gave this jellyfish a way to cheat death not through perfect durability, but through the ability to retreat to an earlier stage and try again. They don't live forever. They just keep starting over. Cuttlefish can change not just their color, but also the texture of their skin. Cuttlefish have papillae, small muscles that can raise or lower the texture of their skin within milliseconds. Combined with their ability to change color and pattern using chromatophores, they can mimic rocks, coral, algae, or sand with stunning accuracy. They can go from smooth to bumpy, from one color to another, creating three-dimensional camouflage that fools both prey and predators. Evolution gave cuttlefish skin that is both screen and sculpture, capable of displaying any texture and any pattern found in their environment. They don't just hide, they transform. Some ant species enslave other ants. Slave-making ants raid the nests of other ant species, stealing pupae and larvae. When these captives mature, they work for the raiding colony as if it were their own, never realizing they've been kidnapped. The slave-makers have evolved specialized behaviors, and sometimes even mandibles shaped specifically for raiding rather than working. Evolution created this parasitic relationship where one species exploits the labor instincts of another. It's a dark side of evolution, showing that natural selection doesn't favor kindness or fairness. It favors what works, even if what works is theft. Sperm whales have the largest brain of any animal. A sperm whale's brain weighs about 17 pounds, nearly 5 times larger than a human brain. They use this enormous brain to process complex social information, navigate vast oceans, and communicate using patterns of clicks called codas. Different whale populations have different dialects, suggesting cultural variation. They can hold their breath for over 90 minutes and dive to depths of over 7,000 feet in total darkness, hunting giant squid using echolocation. Evolution gave sperm whales the largest brain on Earth, not for decoration, but because their lifestyle, hunting in the deep dark, navigating across oceans, and maintaining complex social structures, demands extraordinary cognitive power. The peacock mantis shrimp can see circular polarized light. Beyond their 16 color receptors, mantis shrimp can detect linear and circular polarized light, something almost no other animal can do. Polarization is a property of light waves that's invisible to humans, but carries information about surfaces, materials, and even the physiological state of other mantis shrimp. They may use this ability to communicate secretly, sending signals that only other mantis shrimp can detect. Evolution gave mantis shrimp a private communication channel, written in a property of light that most of the animal kingdom cannot perceive. They see secrets in the water that remain hidden to everyone else. Sloths come down from trees only once a week to defecate. Descending to the forest floor is dangerous for sloths, exposing them to predators. Yet once a week, they make the risky journey down, dig a small hole, defecate, and bury it before climbing back up. Scientists aren't entirely sure why they do this instead of simply going from the trees, but one theory is that it fertilizes the trees they live in, or that it supports moths living in their fur that need sloth dung to reproduce. This behavior shows that evolution sometimes creates relationships so intricate that even seemingly simple actions like defecation become part of a larger ecological web, connecting sloths, trees, and moths in a cycle of mutual dependence. Crows can use up to 3 tools in sequence to get food. In experiments, crows have demonstrated the ability to use one tool to obtain a second tool, which they then use to obtain a third tool, which finally allows them to reach food. This kind of sequential tool use requires planning, understanding cause and effect, and the ability to imagine future states. It's a cognitive ability once thought unique to humans and great apes. Evolution gave crows minds capable of thinking several steps ahead, of seeing not just what is, but what could be if they take the right sequence of actions. They are problem solvers, strategists, thinking their way through puzzles that would challenge many supposedly more intelligent animals. Box jellyfish have 24 eyes. Despite having no brain, box jellyfish have 24 eyes arranged in clusters on their bell. Some of these eyes are simple light detectors, but others are surprisingly complex, with lenses, corneas, and retinas capable of forming images. These sophisticated eyes allow box jellyfish to navigate around obstacles, hunt prey, and avoid predators. How they process visual information without a centralized brain is still a mystery. Evolution gave them vision without thought, the ability to see and respond without anything like consciousness. They watch the world through 24 eyes, guided not by mind, but by ancient neural networks that process light into motion. Flamingos can drink boiling water. Flamingos often feed in salt lakes and alkaline lagoons, where water temperatures can exceed 140 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to burn human skin. Their legs and beaks have evolved to tolerate extreme heat, and they filter feed through specialized beaks even in water that would be lethal to most animals. This adaptation allows them to exploit food sources in environments other birds cannot access. Evolution pushed flamingos into extremes, giving them the ability to walk through and drink from waters that resemble hot springs. They thrive in places that seem hostile to life, their pink bodies standing in shimmering heat, feeding calmly in water that steams and burns. The lungfish can survive out of water for years. African lungfish can burrow into mud when their water source dries up, secreting a mucus cocoon around themselves and entering a state of dormancy called estivation. In this state, they can survive for up to 4 years without water, breathing air through a modified swim bladder that functions as a primitive lung. When rain returns and their pond refills, they emerge and resume normal life. Evolution gave lungfish a bridge between water and land, a body plan that can survive in both worlds or in neither, waiting in the mud for conditions to improve. They are patience incarnate, proof that sometimes survival means simply outlasting the drought. Whales evolved from land mammals that walked on hooves. The ancestors of modern whales were small, hoofed mammals that lived near water about 50 million years ago. Fossils show a clear transition. Creatures with legs that became shorter and more flipper-like. Nostrils that migrated from the front of the snout to the top of the head, and tails that broadened into flukes. These transitional fossils capture evolution in motion, documenting the journey from land to sea. Evolution took a creature built for walking and remade it for swimming, not overnight, but through millions of years of gradual change. The journey from ankle to fluke is written in stone, each fossil a snapshot of transformation, proof that even the most dramatic changes happen one small step at a time. Orcas have distinct family cultures that include unique hunting techniques. Different pods of orcas have different languages, dialects made up of calls that are shared within families, but not between them. Beyond language, they have different cultures. Some pods specialize in hunting salmon, others in hunting seals, still others in hunting sharks or whales. These techniques are taught from mothers to calves, passed down through generations. An orca born into a salmon hunting pod may never learn to hunt seals, even though it's physically capable. Evolution gave orcas intelligence so great that it created culture, where learned behavior is as important as genetics, where identity is determined not just by DNA, but by the knowledge carried in the family. The horned lizard can squirt blood from its eyes. When threatened, horned lizards can increase blood pressure in their heads until capillaries around their eyes rupture, squirting blood up to 5 feet. The blood contains chemicals that taste foul to predators like coyotes and foxes, causing them to retreat in disgust. This shocking defense evolved in small, slow lizards that can't outrun predators. Evolution gave them a weapon that's startling, disgusting, and effective. They don't just bleed. They aim, targeting their attacker's face with streams of their own blood, weaponizing their circulatory system in one of nature's strangest defenses. Bioluminescent organisms exist at every depth of the ocean. In the deep sea, where sunlight never penetrates, up to 90% of organisms produce their own light through bioluminescence. Fish, jellyfish, squid, shrimp, and even bacteria glow in the darkness, creating constellations in the water. Some use light to attract prey, others to confuse predators, some to communicate, and others to camouflage themselves against the faint light from above. Evolution invented bioluminescence independently dozens of times in different lineages, each finding its own chemical pathway to creating light. The deep ocean is not dark and lifeless. It's an alien world illuminated by living light, where evolution painted the darkness with biology's glow. Hippos can run faster than humans. Despite weighing up to 4,000 pounds, hippos can run at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour on land, faster than most humans. They're surprisingly agile and can change direction quickly. Combined with their aggressive temperament when threatened, this makes them one of Africa's most dangerous animals. Evolution gave them bulk and speed, a rare combination that makes them nearly unstoppable in their territory. They look slow and placid in the water, but on land they become charging tanks. their massive bodies moving with shocking velocity. Hummingbirds are the only birds that can hover in still air indefinitely. While some birds can hover briefly, hummingbirds can maintain a perfectly stable hover for extended periods, their wings beating in a figure-8 pattern that generates lift on both the forward and backward stroke. This allows them to feed from flowers that offer no perch, extracting nectar while floating in midair. The energy cost is enormous, requiring them to consume more than their body weight in nectar daily. Evolution pushed hummingbirds into a lifestyle that demands constant motion, constant feeding, and extraordinary aerodynamic control. They are helicopters, defying the usual rules of avian flight. Some species of spiders raise their offspring communally. In social spiders, females cooperate to build massive webs and raise each other's young collectively. Spiderlings are fed by multiple adults, and the whole colony works together to capture prey and defend the nest. This cooperative breeding is rare in spiders, most of which are solitary and cannibalistic. But in environments where large prey is common and resources are reliable, evolution favored cooperation over competition. These spiders formed societies, small communities where individuals sacrifice personal reproduction to help raise the colony's young, creating something that functions more like a beehive than a typical spider. Monarch butterflies' migration takes multiple generations. No single monarch butterfly makes the entire round-trip migration from Canada to Mexico and back. It takes 3 to 5 generations to complete the cycle. Butterflies born in late summer, called the super generation, live 8 to 9 months. Instead of the usual few weeks, they fly south to Mexico, overwinter there, then fly part of the way north before breeding and dying. Their offspring continue north, breed, and the cycle continues through several short-lived generations before the next super generation is born. Evolution created a migration where no individual completes the journey, where the path is carried not in one mind, but across generations, each butterfly knowing only it's part of an ancient route written into their collective biology. Axolotls can regenerate their spinal cords. If an axolotl's spinal cord is severed, it can fully regenerate it, restoring function and sensation. They can also regrow limbs, parts of their heart, their jaws, and portions of their brain. Unlike scarring, which is how most vertebrates heal, axolotls rebuild the original structure, matching the complexity and function of what was lost. Scientists study them intensely, hoping to unlock the secrets of regeneration for human medicine. Evolution gave axolotls the ability to undo almost any injury, to restore themselves completely. Where other animals scar and cope, axolotls rebuild and restore. The mimic octopus can impersonate other animals. The mimic octopus can change not just its color and texture, but its shape and behavior to impersonate at least 15 different species, including lionfish, flatfish, sea snakes, and jellyfish. It chooses which animal to mimic based on the threat it's facing, becoming venomous-looking when necessary and harmless-looking when advantageous. This sophisticated mimicry requires the octopus to know what other animals look like, how they move, and what predators fear them. Evolution gave the mimic octopus not just camouflage, but a repertoire of disguises, the ability to become other creatures, a shapeshifter that chooses its form based on context and danger. Salamanders guided the earliest explorations of regeneration science. Because salamanders can regrow limbs, tails, jaws and eye lenses. They've been central to regeneration research for over a century. They've taught scientists about the cells that enable regrowth, called blastomal cells, which can differentiate into muscle, bone, skin, or nerve as needed. Evolution gave salamanders a developmental flexibility most vertebrates lost, maintaining the ability to reactivate embryonic programs in adulthood. They are windows into what might be possible, living proof that vertebrate limbs can regrow, that evolution hasn't closed that door permanently, just locked it in most species. In salamanders, the key still turns. Some sharks glow in the dark. Several species of deep-sea sharks, including the kitefin shark and the lantern shark, are bioluminescent. They produce light from specialized organs called photophores in their skin. This glow likely serves multiple purposes: camouflage against light from above, attracting prey, and possibly communication with other sharks. Evolution gave these sharks their own light in the darkness, turning them into swimming constellations. They don't just hunt in the deep. They illuminate it, carrying their own small suns embedded in their skin. Turkeys can reproduce without males. Female turkeys can occasionally produce viable eggs without mating, a process called parthenogenesis. The offspring are always male and are genetic clones of the mother. This ability is rare in birds and usually only happens in captivity, but it shows that the genetic machinery for asexual reproduction still exists in birds, waiting to be activated. Evolution kept this option available, a backup reproductive strategy that emerges when conditions are unusual. It's not the primary method, but it's there. A genetic memory of more ancient reproductive strategies that predated the split into male and female. Prairie dogs have one of the most sophisticated animal languages ever documented. Prairie dog alarm calls can communicate the species, size, shape, color, and speed of approaching predators. They have different words for human, coyote, dog, and hawk, and they can add modifiers describing specifics like height and clothing color. Researchers have played back recorded alarm calls and watched prairie dogs respond appropriately to threats that aren't actually present, proving the calls carry specific, reliable information. Evolution gave prairie dogs a proto-language, a system of communication so detailed it approaches what we might call speech. They don't just alert each other. They describe the world, painting pictures with sound. Elephants can recognize themselves in mirrors. Elephants are one of the few animals that pass the mirror self-recognition test, showing they have self-awareness. When marked with a visible spot they can only see in a mirror, elephants will touch the spot on their own bodies, demonstrating they understand the reflection is themselves, not another elephant. This ability is shared only with great apes, dolphins, magpies, and a handful of other species. Evolution gave elephants consciousness of self, the ability to recognize their own existence as separate from the world around them. They know they are elephants. They know they are themselves. Fireflies synchronize their flashing in some species. In certain species of fireflies, thousands of males will gather and flash in perfect synchrony, creating waves of light that pulse across entire trees and fields. This synchronized flashing likely helps females locate males more easily and may reduce the effectiveness of predators who hunt by targeting flashing lights. How they coordinate without a leader is still being studied. but it appears each firefly adjusts its timing based on its neighbors, creating emergent synchronization from simple local rules. Evolution created a collective display where individual insects become cells in a larger pattern, their lights merging into a single voice calling across the darkness. And so, across oceans and deserts, through forests and skies, in the microscopic and the immense, we've traveled through still more stories of life's endless inventiveness. Evolution is not a force with intention. It's a process that responds, that shapes and is shaped, that writes its story in the survival of those who fit their world just well enough to leave descendants. It's written in the way a beetle defends itself, the way a whale sings, the way your own immune system remembers diseases you fought years ago. Every creature is a solution to a problem, and every solution creates new questions. The conversation between life and earth continues, quiet and patient, speaking in the language of genes, behaviors, and slowly changing bodies. Nothing is permanent. Everything adapts. And in that constant transformation, there is a kind of peace, a reminder that change is not something to fear, but something to be. The very nature of existence